staff conflict. We can't go to Health Expo now. Most of our employees are going to the services.
Okay, what's getting added now?
Is this candy?
I knew it.
Mark that for some stuff.
You're really trying to confuse us, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, that was this one. Wait, do I have two of the same?
Okay.
No, these are different.
They are with the tent.
This person on our,
Oh, I need to turn mine off.
On every single one of them?
yeah.
Must be the preparer. Treasurer.
Oh, Kimberly E.
Yes, that's
All
her.
right. Really? Put your mug on there.
I like your teal. Your teal. Okay. Good job, Randy.
Okay. These are all.
Not owning teal.
Okay.
Again. I'm telling you, various shades of like black.
Okay.
Yeah. Black,
Also, yeah, like
lighter black,
kind of like navy.
gray, darker gray.
I like navy. It's navy.
120 different shades of black.
Okay.
Mix the paint.
Are those?
Put down that out through Exxon, search for Exxon.
I think they have everything.
All right. Call this special budget work session meeting to order. Please silence your electronic devices. Roll call to council.
Mayor Hartless,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lucas, absent. Councilmember Shantz.
Here.
Councilmember Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember De Leon, absent. Councilmember Waddell.
Here.
Councilmember Hooper.
All right. Nora, it's all yours.
It's all mine. Oh, super fantastic. Sorry, this is a little bit of a mess, but we had a couple of little hooplas happen. I think we will start just with a little bit of the revenue side of things. There's not a whole lot to report. We are down a little bit, about probably 5% maybe at this point. If things continue the way that they're going, we'll hit just right about where we were last year. If the sheet, the little packet that I printed that looks like this, it's going this way, it's the only one you have that goes this way. That's our whole revenue that we've taken in for the year, our city sales tax.
The 5 million?
Yes, the sales tax, the vehicle licensing, perf. What else is in there? Oh, the urban revenue is in there as well. I think that's it. State sales tax is also in there. Yeah. Which is, and then you have another one that is marked, that goes this direction, that is, the dates are the 7/01/2023 through,
331.
oh, wait a minute here, I'm wrong. Yeah, it was the one last year. It does look like that. It's 7/01/2022. That's our revenues from, our full packet of revenues from last year. So if you look at the last page,
Oh, okay. Let's see.
that'll give you a pretty good idea of where we're gonna end up, because we're about 3.5 months still out. Nothing looks like it's not going to hit what we did last year. Other than the safe Smart and Safe Fund through the police department. Last year, we had got an extra little hit at the very end of the year that we probably will not get this year. It had to do with the Prop 208. It doesn't look like that's gonna hit.
Hit, meaning a negative hit?
We will not get that money.
When you say a hit, that indicates a negative. Okay.
It is
It
negative?
is, we will not be getting that extra money that we did last year on the Prop 208. They haven't really started the budget at the state level yet. That will start April 11th, is when they'll really start hitting. We have a couple of bills that are still floating around out there that they can't seem to decide what they're gonna do with. So they have the rest of this week off, and it looks like that they will start that budget pretty hard on April 11th. According to Ray, it's city and leagues and cities, and we've been kind of, every Monday, we go over what's kind of happening. Things are looking better as far as revenues go, and the budget, we don't think we're going to have quite as much of a shortfall as we thought we were going to. Maybe a 3%, they're thinking, but we won't know until Friday. I mean, until the 11th, when they really start hitting, and then we'll have a better idea. The fun colored one that you got is just basically what we've taken in grants this year. So I did give you guys each kind of a breakout.
This one is just state grants.
Just the state grants, not any other, just FYI. I did break out in each of your little packets what we've done as far as city tax this year. If you go to the end page, it'll give you what we've done in each one. Just kind of a overview of that. And also in HER funds, we've actually collected more HER funds than we thought we're going to as of last year. And then also state sales tax. The urban revenue share is up all year. Last year it was only about $53,000 a year, a month. This year it's about 74 a month. So that's a steady every month.
And then on the back, that's how much we've collected so far?
Collected so far.
This
correct,
year,
Correct.
as of March 31st. Okay.
The-
As of Sunday.
And that's what's been sent to us since March. I know the state's collected a bit more, but
What are some of the restrictions on urban revenue sharing?
There is none?
there is none.
I didn't think so.
The only one that's heavily restricted is your HER funds.
Yeah.
Your highway user funds. And those are very restricted. Even though on the revenue side, that's about all we have right now. We'll have, like I said, more, I think, when the next go-around. I'll try to have a pretty good report for you guys when the state starts shoving out their stuff. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to.
Under city sales tax, is that where the franchise fees go? Or is-
Yes, they would go in there.
Okay.
Next time we do one of these, we could get a PowerPoint or something to go along with it.
We can.
Something a little more.
I really wasn't prepared to do it this way this time. I was hoping, as were some other cities and towns, that our state would have been a little more ahead of the game. But as of Monday, they were not.
Nora, I don't want to put you on the spot,
Nope.
but where are we in the retirement, police retirement thing?
We haven't paid anything as of this year yet. We're just kind of hanging out, waiting to see. We've got a couple of different options. I mean, we pay our normal pay every pay period, but we haven't paid anything extra at this point. Revenue side, questions? Okay, we're gonna start with Steve. This is gonna be a really high, just so you guys kind of get the picture, this is a really high level of pretty much the needs of what the different departments are. And Steve and Chief are gonna be the only two that actually, department heads that actually speak, because theirs are much more expensive. There's a lot more to them. But if this whole packet here has all the expenses as far as department heads, as far as the larger items that we're gonna look at. And then Megan and I will kind of talk to you guys about, after we get through with this,
Can we just make it easy and say no?
COLAs. Unacceptable, Mr. Hooper.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steve, yeah.
You should have in your packets the spreadsheet with general fund, HERF fund, water fund, and then the grants. So taking a look at that, just from the first one, general fund, essentially the new items on this list is magistrate court and PD repairs. So typically over the past, say, 5 years, we've actually budgeted $10,000 per building for any repairs that might come up throughout the year. It's served us well with replacing HVAC units during the middle of summer. So that is new for magistrate court. Animal shelter, there's a lot of repairs needed at the original shelter. And what that is essentially all of the paneled walls are being torn apart. They're basically fiberglass panel walls, and the dogs are tearing apart the fiberglass, getting into the foam. That foam is then actually getting into the drain, and we are constantly having to have the plumber out there to unclear those, or to clear those drains. So we're going to do some repairs of each of those kennels in that original kennel.
What are you gonna use for wall covering now?
Metal, yeah. The plan, we've already got pricing from Dennis in town to do that work, so that's the plan, to keep it in town. The other two items, all the notes are on the side there, the carryovers from the previous year and then the annual stuff. The other new items on this list, mainly library repairs. A lot of this is energy efficiency improvements, replacing about 8 windows total that are currently single pane windows. So it's going to serve us well from an energy standpoint, energy saving standpoint. New flooring. We're going to pull down that ceiling in the lobby reception area, that wood ceiling. It's really not efficient for us to have that there, so we'll pull that out and put a regular drop ceiling, T-bar grid ceiling in there. And then the very last one, the Toro motor purchase. The Kubota mower was purchased in 2012 by Tim Edwards, and it has run its course and it's ready to be replaced. Next on the list is the HERF projects. Starting off with a rollover there, our annual stuff, but the new ones, remove and replace the asphalt 4th through 6th Ocotillo to Quartz, scrub seal Joshua and Navajo, and that's 19th to 20th, and then remove and replace the asphalt on 18th Street from California all the way down to Palo Verde, and install 2 new sections of valley gutter along that way as well. And then we need to do some work out at Parker South with that intersection at Parker Boulevard and Industrial Lane. If you haven't seen the right-of-way at that intersection, the storm drain connection that goes underneath the road, we have basically, it's completely eroding away. So we're gonna throw some engineering money at it to come up with a plan to actually fix that and make it a more long-term solution. Next is the water. The most important carryover is that top item, the lead service line inventory, which is required to be completed and turned into EPA by October of this year. I am trying to actually get that done through RCAC for free, but we'll see. I'm being challenged right now with the current water study that we have going on with them, that I was hoping to have information for this meeting today, but he informed me he was not able to finish the study to the point where he could actually give us information on what the potential rate increases are going to be for the water. Outside of that, the new items there, well 6 inspection and rehab. I don't have any documentation, and speaking with Silvino, he's been here 18 years, going on actually 19 years now. The well has never been rehabbed at all in his time. I don't have any documentation on when it was rehabbed. This well is our main backup well, so we need to actually ensure that it is good to go in case we need it for an extended period of time. So that's a really important one. The mini excavator and trailer, staff is finding out it's probably going to be beneficial and more efficient for us to have a mini X instead of using the backhoe for a majority of our water-related projects. Just easier to maneuver, easier to get things dug in a more efficient manner. The backhoe is great, but it does require lots of let's just say, extra monitoring to ensure that we're not damaging any other products. So when we get in tight to doing some of these repairs of other water lines or mains or gas lines, the Mini X is going to be very helpful in those situations. Outside of that is the valve insertion machine. That is something that we've been eyeing for the last 2 years. It'll allow us to actually insert valves in locations rather than shutting down the entire town. So we do have a situation in which we're not able to isolate the different quadrants in town to perform major repairs. And right now, that half of town over there is towards the river agency over. We're not able to isolate things over there. So when we have a major issue, we actually have to shut down a good portion of town and able to do a repair on that side of town. So things like that, we have different areas throughout town and throughout the system that we'll be using this valve insertion equipment on. It does come with a couple of valves and the training needed to get the staff trained up properly. But I think in the long run, it will certainly pay for itself many times over, because just one valve insertion through outside services contract is $7,000. So we did that year before last, and we've been actually looking at this equipment ever since, because it'll allow us to install valves in situations where we can't isolate things. We just ran into a situation at the railroad similar to this. We could actually install the valve. It actually took us a good a good week to get that particular line fixed and isolated. Had we had this equipment, we could have done it that day. So that's it for the water. As you see, some of those are just annual stuff and then carryovers from this year.
When you say carryover, does that mean of the job you didn't do this year, or you have
Carryover
money?
from meaning this budget over to next year, this upcoming budget. So we budgeted them this year.
Didn't
Actually,
spend
some
it?
of these have been budgeted since 2022, 23, We just have rolled them over. There's still projects that we need to do and need to get done, just have not had time to get to them for one reason or another, you know?
I do
So
have a
that's what
couple
most of these are for.
How many fire hydrants are we down? Do we know?
I believe we have 8 that aren't functional.
Okay, and then my next question is, well, 6, you really think 60,000 is enough to inspect it?
Yes, that actually came with, that's a proposal from the contractor.
Okay. That's, sounds pretty low.
And that comes with all the new pumps, new line. We're going to probably replace the motor to get a VFD rated motor installed as well. And the last but not least is the grants. So you see a lot of carryover there. Most of those grants are in progress right now, have been awarded, and we're basically underway. The new ones on this list is we're finishing up a grant. John Luther and I finished up a grant for the congressional funds. So we're going after those 3 street projects that I listed under the HERF. We're actually going after a grant through the congressional grant funds to pay for the majority of that. There is a cost share, 5.7% cost share. We've actually budgeted a 20% cost share and actually are hoping that in our submission that we can let them know that, yeah, we will have the ability to actually pay for 20% cost share if that, you know, makes or breaks the decision. So that's kind of how we're leaning to on the actual submission. Other than that, the 2 swing sets, there's 1 swing set at Western Park is on there. We're going to go after a grant to replace that. I did put some information on the street projects and the 2 park-related equipment items there in front of the mayor. So if you'd like to share that, Mayor, with the other council members. I didn't print one up for everybody. It shows you what the Park and Rec Committee chose at one of the recent meetings. So we'll be going after Arizona State Park grants for the purchase of those. Happy to answer any questions you have.
On the Aaron Hill field,
Yes.
that's gonna start about August or so?
The plan is try to have them come in between seasons. So once their season is over, I've actually requested them to come in. I don't have a confirmed time yet, but that's what we're shooting for.
And then the jailhouse? How's that
Jailhouse
coming?
project, so those of you who happened to drive by and saw staff actually clean out the jailhouse. So we got a majority of all of the pigeon feces removed.
It's about 2 feet thick.
It was 2 feet
I
thick
I
throughout.
looked in there one time.
So the next step, they're gonna pull out which appears to be the walls, the cell walls, or some cell walls, I guess. Very heavy gauge steel. We're gonna pull that out, and they're gonna
Is it
wash it
flat?
off. It is flat,
Okay, I don't think that's the original one. The original one was out at Siloam.
yeah. I don't know.
I think it's still there.
It's leaned up against the wall,
Okay,
so
yeah.
we're gonna pull it all out. We're gonna clean it off, and we're gonna essentially take it over to the yard. I spoke with Scott Seabury, our architect on the project, and he's making arrangements that come out here with his specialized contractor that specializes in this, and they're gonna basically get all the information that they need to get the plans developed for this renovation.
You may want to talk to the sheriff and see if you can get that cell from the Siloam office.
Yeah, there's
It's closed up
there's an
now, I
awful lot of panels stood up against the wall in there, and I'm trying to just picture in my mind how this all fits, but I don't know. There's quite a bit in there right now.
Well, the original cell, if I remember right, sat in the middle of that building.
Okay.
So I don't remember how big it is. It's been a long time since I was out at Siloam at that.
Yeah.
But it's not small.
Yeah, we're hoping that we can get some information from Deanna Beaver on kind of how things looked on the inside. So I think she'll be a great resource for the architect team to get some information on how it looked. But yeah, so we're getting there to we're finally getting things started on that. Yes,
The inside's been that way since they had the maneuvers here.
right.
Question. Probably not your favorite one, but skate park I see on here, 200,000. Has there been any movement on that discussion or?
So the skate park, the entire city park feasibility study is still underway. They're currently actually developing the construction cost for the entire park. Part of that, of course, is the skate park. The skate park will not be something similar to what you currently see. It's not going to be a below ground type of skate park with all concrete. It's going to be basically a plug and play skate park fixtures essentially that are very popular and in demand right now, to where if something wears out, actually we could just replace it instead of replacing all concrete, and it's actually just replace the piece of equipment. So if you're a skater, you know that the skate parks have popped up for many different skate events over the country and over the world, actually. So there's a company that the team is working with now to provide 2 different proposals on equipment for this space.
And that'll come out of this earmarked skate
No,
park?
so that is just something that's an annual thing that we've always budgeted for. I don't know what,
So that's not a part of the whole renovation project?
no, it is not. That is something separate.
So that kind of seems like a good chunk of money sitting there.
Yeah, and whether or not that number is correct, I don't know. I don't know how it's labeled in our
And
finances. but
$200,000
it's-
annually for how long?
Yeah, these are just budgeted amounts so that we
Yes.
can accept
So
grants.
just in case
So we can
do
go
it.
after grants and whatnot.
So if we don't have it on the budget item, you can't spend it if it comes in.
But it's not like we have 200,000 sitting there waiting to be spent.
Correct.
In other words, yeah.
Yeah, so once the feasibility is complete, and they give us a cost of construction, then we'll obviously sit down with Colorado River Indian Tribes, have a meeting with them, go over the plan, obviously get their buy-in on what we plan to do to the park, and then it becomes a matter of actually seeking, grants to actually get it built. And it's going to be a phased project. And speaking with the architect today, he's thinking lowball, 5 million, probably more closer to the $10 million range for the entire renovation of that park. So it's not a cheap endeavor at this point.
So the new.
To see what that ends up involving, the whole.
It's a beautiful plan.
It is really, really pretty. We'll have to share it with them, Steve. I keep forgetting that on Parks and Rec, I get to see it because I'm their liaison, but I think once they decide for sure that's the plan, right? Because they still might make a few changes to it.
No, I think it's pretty solid as far as the layout's concerned,
Okay.
because everything fits in
Yes.
currently. So I think the layout is correct. It's as far as amenities and, how many, skate park features, how big the splash pad, things of that nature. That's what's being kind of developed right now to kind of give us a baseline of what the construction cost is going to be.
Who's,
have to stop
who's
by and
putting that
see it.
info together? Like who's providing the input for what ends up in the skate
The
park?
Park and Recreation Committee.
I don't know
And
if
we
you
did
remember
the
years
survey.
back when they did this one at Players, as a matter of fact, they hosted a thing where the community kids all came out and designed it and had their input, and then I
Yeah,
think
that
it
was a
like
little
winning-
different, but
winning
for the
design
skate park you're
got it.
talking about?
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
important because
Absolutely.
The kids
we were
got
the
to
ones
decide.
using the skate park.
They
It's
set up
great for
a
adults.
4x8 piece of plywood and threw 100 pounds of clay and went,
Yep.
make a skate park, and the kids did. They
Well, this-
designed
Me
it.
and John Tuba designed that
Yeah.
one, and then we grew up and never used it. But
Right.
The survey that Parks and Rec put out a few months ago, a lot of information was used from that of like, what do we want to see in the town of Parker? And there's so many things. There's different amenities. There's a pickleball, there's a splash pad, there's a walk, like I wouldn't say like a hiking walk trail, but there's a walk trail. Gosh, off the top of my head, there's a basketball court, the skate park, there's 4 different baseball fields,
Soccer/football field.
a concession stand. So it's really, really nice. And it's
Sounds
all,
great.
yes. And it's all like, there's a river. It's supposed to look like there's a river that flows through the entire thing, kind of like the town. It's really nice.
I can certainly share with the council at a, you know, maybe the next council meeting, if Nora.
Yeah, that's probably the most exciting thing we've had going on in this town.
I am very excited about it.
So
Sorry.
are you keeping Post and Rotary updated on this?
Yes,
'Cause
and
they did
I
put-
also asked to have a meeting with the Al-Qaeda's to make sure that they still know that it is in memory. Yes.
I did speak with Caroline and told her.
Okay, good.
All right, we're almost time for our regular meeting, so Mike, you gotta wait till later, I guess, right? Okay. Thanks, Steve. Right, we'll adjourn the special budget work session,
Say yes for feeding.
call the regular meeting to order. Roll call of council.
This is that park stuff.
Mayor Hartless.
Here,
Vice Mayor Lucas, absent. Councilmember Shantz. Here. Councilmember Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember De Leon.
here.
Councilmember Waddell.
Here,
Councilmember Hooper.
All right, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think Bree's here to do our invocation. Also, I'd just like to do a moment of silence before you start in honor of Pastor Garcia, who filled that role right there many times over the years. Okay, thanks, Bree. Go ahead.
Will you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this day, and I thank you for Mayor Hartless and the council members and all of the people who work to make the town of Parker a better place to live. Lord, I pray that you would just protect them, that you would give them wisdom as they're making decisions that affect the town of Parker. And Lord, I just thank you for all of the people who live and work here and ask for protection and your blessing over them. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. No call, oh well, proclamation. Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Erica Daniels, Colorado River Crisis Services / Councilwoman.
It's actually going to be our executive director, Miss Denise Perez.
Hello, good evening. One second, I got multiple papers here. Thank you, Parker Town Council, for having us again and recognizing our proclamation for Sexual Violence Awareness Month. It is Teal Day. Thank you, Amy, for wearing your teal. We appreciate you. And everybody else with the teal on today. Okay, so whereas nationally, 1 in 3 and 1 in 4 men will experience some form of sexual assault in their lifetime. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month draws attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has implications for every community member. And whereas there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual violence through prevention, education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to prevent sexual assault and how to support survivors. And whereas anyone can be a leader in preventing and ending sexual violence, as employers, educators, parents, and friends, we all have an obligation to uphold the basic principle that every individual should be free from violence and fear. And whereas prevention is possible when the entire community is involved. The first step is increasing awareness through education, supporting and believing victims. It's time for all of us to take action against ending sexual assault.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Parker Mayor and Council does hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And we, the undersigned, are taking action as leaders in our community and creating an environment in which sexual assault is unacceptable and survivors are supported. We join criminal justice agencies, victim advocates, and community service providers in taking action to prevent sexual violence each day of the year and create change for the future. Signed to date April 2nd, 2024. Thank you. I'm gonna
Thank
give
you.
that to Erica.
Can you go take a picture with Denise?
Yes, I would like for you to take a picture with Denise.
Okay, come on. Here. And any of our board members that are here?
Amy, you should be in our picture. Is Amy on board? No, you're good.
Are you reading the next one? I haven't.
Okay, we also have proclamation for Fair Housing Month. Steve Ziegler, Public Works Director.
Fair Housing Month for April 2024, whereas April 2024 marks the 56th anniversary of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, known as the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act and Civil Rights Act of 1968, known as the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act. And whereas this act provides equal housing opportunity for all Americans regardless of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, as well as to ensure fair practice on the sale, rental, of financing of property, and whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 added new rights, remedies, monetary penalties, and strengthened its enforcement procedures. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act seeks to provide equal housing opportunities to affirmatively furthering housing choices, to eliminate legal barriers to equal housing, and to emphasize equal housing as a fundamental human right for all. And whereas individuals in the city have the right to choose where they live without discrimination based on race, color, religion, age, sex, disability, gender identity, familial status, or national origin. And whereas the town of Parker fully supports the intent and purpose of the Federal Fair Housing Act, local fair housing laws, and follows policies and practices in order to achieve its goals.
Now therefore, I, the mayor of the town of Parker, do hereby proclaim April 2024 in the town of Parker, Arizona as Fair Housing Month.
Thank you.
We don't need a photograph, do we?
I'm in the paper enough.
Yeah.
You need to get in it, Randy.
All right. We don't have any call to the public, Amy? No, sir. All right. So, I'm sorry.
Hold on, Mayor.
All right. Mike Villeneuve. Am I saying that right?
Pretty close, Villeneuve.
Yeah, come on up.
Thank you for the moment for everybody. My name is Michael Villeneuve. I'm a real estate agent and developer out of California. I've got a couple of properties in town we've identified that could work for the town to help out with some workforce housing as well as some affordable housing. And the two addresses we're looking at is 900 Eagle and 900 Desert. Those are one street in from the main drag behind O'Reilly Auto Parts and Spanky's. Currently vacant. They have a zoning that would allow this commercial. We would need a little bit of a variance, love, as we would like to put a mobile home facility that would be for sales and for tiny homes on one of the lots, and use the second lot to set up the community off of those mobiles and tiny home sales. So I brought some support from a few other folks in town including the owners of the properties right now. So what we'd be looking for is to hold hands with the city to provide the affordable housing, provide the workforce housing, and also bring some revenue on sales tax and some jobs to the town in the process on it. Once this pans out, we'd be looking to duplicate that fingerprint on a couple other parcels within Parker. So thank you for the time. There'll be a lot more on this.
Thank you. Okay, Rob Smith.
Hi, thank you. So I'm Rob I own River Sports RV and Marine here on Riverside Drive there. As you might all know, about 2 years ago, we started this project. We built this new dealership there. We entered into a lease purchase contract with the town on the 2 lots that Mike was just mentioning. And the idea at that time was to obviously create a pretty large RV and Marine dealership, which we did. Little did we know, our timing was a little bit off. Things started out pretty well. Interest rates, inflation, don't need to speak too much on that, but with interest rates at 9 and 10%, it's needless to say the RV industry really took a hit. So I was faced with a couple of different options, and one was an option that I didn't, obviously it was an option, but it wasn't one I was willing to take, and that was to throw in the towel and say, I can't do this, right? So after spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month in interest and curtailments on RV inventory that was sitting there and not selling, I made the decision to downsize, kind of liquidate the RV portion of my business model, stick with what we do here, which is we're on the river, we have Lake Havasu, we're a boating community. The boat industry seemed to kind of withstand this a little bit better than the RV industry did. So that's the direction I went. In doing that, I realized that for me to make it work and to sustain that pretty building sitting there on Riverside Drive was to downsize. So I reached out and looked at the possibility of selling those 2 lots, help generate a little bit of income, a little bit of equity to get myself basically in a position where I could keep River Sports going, a little different direction, but continue to run my rental operation, boat sales, and just try to survive and get through this downturn. I looked at the option that Mike brought. Yes, it's, one of the lots would still bring probably more retail, because really one of those lots, the lot behind Spanky's, I was really using for service storage anyway, so that was not generating any sales tax revenue for the town. The lot behind O'Reilly's was strictly an inventory, storage, basically storing more inventory. But to be honest with you, I think switching to the business model and kind of if you will, just going with that flow, I think that the new plan will generate, as River Sports goes, will generate as much or more revenue for the town. With what Mike has to offer on the retail side of it, I think at the end of the day, I think it's a great option for the town. And I don't, like I said, if I'm not able to scale it down and do what I really need to do, I don't know that I can withstand the storm. I don't know if I can get through to the other side and sustain it. So that's what I'm hoping to do, and that's why we decided to bring this to you guys. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Laney Scholl, infamous realtor from the House Hunter episode Parker was on recently. How are you?
We got another one coming up, so
Really? Good.
we'll keep Parker on the map. And we want to keep Parker on the map with these guys and bringing new blood and opportunity to Parker with jobs and housing. We're falling on the Fair Housing Month. It would be nice to offer some affordable housing here. Take the model that's been very successful in Lake Havasu with all these little tiny home developments. It makes it affordable for really not just locals, but retirees, vacationers, and we could start with one small one, We have a big one sitting on Copa, sitting there. Might be too big. I'm not sure what's going on, but Mike's model would work. Right now, there's a deed restriction on Eagle and Desert. We're aware of that. That deed restriction wants to have revenue, sales tax dollars coming into the town. Right now, you just heard from Rob, you're getting no sales tax dollars at all on Eagle or Desert. Mike comes in, he has a park model lot. You're gonna get a lot of sales tax dollars on that lot. You're also gonna get sales tax on every sale of the tiny homes. The state sales tax is 5.35%. Every time we sell a park model, we have to charge that sales tax. So the county will, or the city will also get sales tax on the resales. So we go from nothing, and if Rob throws in the towel, really nothing, or an opportunity to have 6 or 8 little tiny homes, people to live, and a really strong inventory of park models. And I know I've had a park model sitting on the side of the road on Riverside Drive for the last 2 months, and I've been probably asked 50 times if it was for sale. So I know that that market is very strong, and it's where our industry, not just here locally, Parker Havasu, but everywhere, people are downsizing and they're looking for an affordable option. So that's our pitch.
Thank you. And you guys know under call to the public, we can't like have a discussion. I'd love to talk to you guys some more. It just, we can't do it here, so, thank you.
This item is on the agenda.
Yeah, it's one of the last ones, right?
Yeah, then we can talk about it.
Yes.
All right. Melissa is not here this evening for
She's,
the,
on
Mayor,
Zoom.
she's on the phone. Are you available, Melissa? She was driving, I think.
Yes, sorry, can you hear me?
yes.
I do apologize. I did say I was not going today because I had a dentist appointment. But then when I saw, or when Mayor told me that we were on the agenda, I wanted to make sure I called in. So my apologies of not being there in person. But good evening. I was just going to give an update. I did tell you last meeting that we were attending the Arizona Game and Fish Expo. So it was a little bit different this year. It was still an amazing event, and we want to continue to go. There was 23,000 in attendance on Saturday. Sunday, they shut it down early because of the thunderstorms that they were getting. We were in a big, gigantic tent with metal poles, and I guess lightning was hitting the ground. So they came over and told us that they were sending all the participants home, and all the vendors needed to go sit in their car and wait for the storm to pass, and then they could come in and take their stuff down. So we ended up being able to actually take our stuff and leave, but unfortunately it was only a half day, and so I don't have the numbers for that day. But regardless, 23,000 on Saturday was amazing. I will say this year it was a little discouraging because only about 5% of the people knew where Parker was. So we got a lot of comments that we were Parker Canyon Lake, which I've never heard of, and I looked it up, and it's outside of Tucson. So it's definitely one we're going to continue to work in that Phoenix market and get our name out there. Every year is different. Like I said, last year it was, or 2 years ago, it was 30, 30, 30. 30% knew where we were and have been here. 30% have driven through, and the other 30 did not. Last year was about 80-20, and last year we were mistaken for Page and Parks. So that is definitely an area we know we need. We know the Phoenix market is definitely where we need to get our name out, so we will continue to do that year after year. It's a great event. It just promotes everything that Parker is all about. Boating, fishing, hunting, off-road, and so much more that Arizona Game and Fish all does. So we will continue to do that. We are hosting the Tri-State Allegiance meeting with all the chambers from Mojave County and also Laughlin and Needles and Blythe next Monday. And so if there's still room, if you guys want to attend, please just let me know. We are still doing the 50/50 fundraiser. And another fundraiser that we do have is our annual Two Float. So we did open registration on March 1st. Last year's registration at the end of the month, so on March 31st, was 614. And this year we're at 648. So we're right on target where we should be, a little bit more than last year. We do have billboards up around all of Arizona, including the Phoenix area, Bullhead, and Laughlin, promoting Two Float and just coming to the river, picture with just boating and enjoy your summer here. So those are up, and those will be up throughout the month of April and May. And the final thing for those that haven't heard yet, the chamber leases the land from the railroad, but we do own the building. We were informed that it wasn't a definite 100, but it's a strong 99% chance that they will be taking over our building again. They are ending the lease. So we are currently looking for a place to move the chamber, and I know that's on the agenda here in a little bit. I've been up and down the town trying to find
We're losing you.
Feasibility study for what they want to do. Oh, they're doing a feasibility study. Is that better?
Yeah.
Hello?
We can hear you now.
Hello. Okay. They're doing a feasibility study that they said will take about 2 months for what they want to expand and what they want to do with the railroad. And we all know that even after the 2 months, they won't start directly with it. So they did say they would work with us and allow us some time to find somewhere to go. And that is my update in a nutshell.
They just
So
did all
thank
those
you.
improvements. And
Yeah.
Well, there's good news on that side, but thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and yeah, it's definitely. I understand where they're coming from. It's hard for the chamber to move. It's a great location and very visible there, but we'll find something.
All right. Our next item is consent agenda. All items considered routine, enacted by one motion, unless somebody wants to pull something out of here. No. I would entertain a motion.
move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve items A through E. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Regular agenda item 1, discussion and action to approve deny overage fee for Arizona Smart Fund grant. $143,000. Steve Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Public Works staff respectfully request the Mayor and Council to approve the overage fees of $143,615.06 for the Arizona Smart Fund Grant Project to have the engineering design and cost of construction to install road curbs, gutter, and sidewalk on 86 street segments throughout town. This project was approved by council in January, and the IGA was signed with ADOT to administer the project was signed as well. Kimley Horn was chosen as by ADOT and the town to perform the work. We had a kickoff meeting, followed by the first scope and fee meeting. The draft scope and fee submitted on March 1st was $517,458.76. This proposal far exceeded the budget. So we subsequently held a value engineering meeting to go over the draft fee proposal, to find areas where we thought we could cut costs, and the survey cost was the most, the biggest issue and the root cause of the high fee. So the revised draft scope and fee proposal is now $321,879.06. So Kimley Horn was able to cut $195,000 from the first proposal, which is much more reasonable and fits within our budget. The fiscal impact, the grant pays for $178,264 of the cost of the, and the IGA states that if any costs go over the amount, the town must cover it. Staff budgeted $208,000 in this year's budget, and we're budgeting $208,000 in the FY 24-25 budget to cover these costs. So this $143,000 will be covered.
I didn't hear you.
It will be
Oh,
covered,
will be,
yes.
okay. All right.
This was-
$65,000 rollover. Right.
Excuse me?
Be a $65,000 rollover.
No, we're rolling over the full amount. We have to roll over the $208,000 per
Oh, won't be paid out of
requirement.
this budget, yeah.
Yes,
Was this just for the engineering part of it, or?
correct.
All right,
Motion to approve?
Second.
moved and seconded to approve the overage fee for the Arizona Smart Fund Grant. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Steve. You're staying up for item 2, discussion action to approve deny agreement with Western Alarm for Police Department Tenant Improvement Access Control System.
Council, Public Works Department respectfully requests mayor and council to have Western Alarm install the new access control system for the new police department location for $16,479.28. The rough plumbing, framing, HVAC, electrical installation is completed today. So it's getting close to actually probably about a month and a half away from this project being completed. But before drywall takes place, obviously Western Alarm has to get in there and install this access control cabling to all the points in the project that have access control. Western Alarm provides all of the town's access control systems and alarm system and monitoring for the library as well. The system will include 2 4-door controllers, so that battery backups for the card readers, the proximity sensors, and the mag locks for 8 doors at the chosen locations by Chief Bailey. Western Alarm is our sole source provider for these systems, and no other proposals were solicited. Staff budgeted $547,941 for the police station tenant improvement project in the FY 23-24 budget, and we're expecting to have enough funds remaining to pay for this. But due to the bid coming in over, we had budgeted there won't be any funds remaining to pay for this equipment. So staff would like to use the $47,700 that was budgeted for the employee housing and architectural services for the property across the street in this year's budget, and use that instead, a portion of that to go to pay for this access control system.
Maura, you don't want to move in across the street?
How come we didn't budget for this alarm system thing? Or that we did, there was just overage?
Did and we went over.
We did, except for the bids on the project came back above what we had expected.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agreement with Western Alarm Services for Police Department Tenant Improvement Access Control System installation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Item 3, discussion action to approve deny memorandum of understanding with the Colorado River Crisis Services for the, I believe it's the Violence Against Women Act grant.
It's on women. It's the Violence on Women.
Okay.
Office on Violence Against Women. Why is it so hard to say? I don't understand. It's a good grant. It's a good MOU to have here, OVW. You ready? I hear my name. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm here before you asking permission to enter into a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, with the Colorado River Regional Crisis Services for the purpose of continuing services to the La Paz County Justice Response Team, JRT. A bit of background about this: the Parker Police Department is an active member of the JRT and has been since 2019. Agencies and organizations throughout La Paz County meet monthly to coordinate training and provide services to victims of sexual assault, stalking, and domestic violence throughout La Paz County. By entering into the MOU, this will allow the CRRCS to apply for a grant through the Office on Violence Against Women, OVW. This grant will allow the CRRCS to keep providing extremely useful and important training to law enforcement agencies and prosecutors throughout the county. In addition to funding training opportunities, the crisis shelter requests funding to support up to 25% of the salary for a victim's advocate through the Parker Police Department. This is what I'll talk about tonight in the budget here. This position will coordinate with the CRRCS to provide services and information to victims of domestic-related violence, sexual assault, and dating and stalking violence. Fiscal impact: there is no fiscal impact to the town. Any questions? I have Denise here to be expert
Yeah,
here.
so you said something about your report, but we didn't get it because we ran over. So tell me the
So-
funding mechanism here for,
In the proposed budget I have would be to absorb a position for the accreditation manager. We'll also do victims advocacy for the town of Parker. Not just domestic violence related, but all victims, but this is going to be a chunk of her role as well.
The grants due April 16th, you have that ready to turn in?
I'm sorry?
You have the grant ready to turn in, because it's due the 16th?
Oh, no, it's in the process.
on the 15th? Based on my experience with grants.
None of these grants are done in time. It's all last minute.
Yeah, yeah.
They give you 30 days.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the MOU with the Colorado River Crisis Services for the Violence on Women Act grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief. Discussion regarding the use of southeast corner of Western Park for a new location for the Parker Area Chamber of Commerce. Nora?
So,
That would be an interesting.
Melissa kind of touched on tonight that the chamber is going to have to move. Her and I have had several discussions about where we can find a place that's large enough, high visibility, with enough parking. One of the kind of discussions that came out of that was Western Park in that southwest or southeast corner. Putting it there, there's quite a bit of parking. The visibility is probably not much better anywhere else in town. I mean,
Yeah, I
you
would
get it
agree
in
with
both
that.
directions, coming in and out of town, either California, Havasu, Phoenix area, they all kind of pass there. There's a couple of different, we have I wouldn't want to take out any of the vegetation, any of the trees or anything, but I think there is enough room in there to put the office that they would need, and of course, there's plenty of parking as
Isn't
well.
there a large plumbing thing sticking out of the ground on that end?
Yes.
Towards the street.
Where they always put the sign, like the little bungee sign and stuff.
Yes, it's out towards the street. You've got water, sewer,
Rodeo guys did it.
electric,
Yeah, we
right there pretty close.
went over there, 'cause not only there, we went to a lot of places in
Yes.
town, a group of people trying to find a solution.
There's nothing downtown.
What about right across the
No,
street
not
by
for
Napa?
even a
There's those
reasonable
places that are
price.
Always for rent.
What's that?
Across the street from them now, right next to Napa, there's those two
Pretty
places.
small.
Yeah, those
Parking
are
is-
super
Put 'em
small
together.
and no parking.
What's the whole back of that property though, too?
Parking's always the issue, and a lot of the buildings we looked at there was two issues. It was either parking or just outrageously overpriced. I mean, just ridiculously, laughably overpriced properties that are probably never gonna sell. Some of them in excess of $1 million.
And you're an appraiser now?
Well, I'm not an appraiser, but when I see a $300,000 property that somebody wants $1 million for, I know that's,
Is there anything inside the old post office on
well,
Joshua?
again, your issue there is gonna be
Couple
parking.
Small office
Yeah.
things in there right now.
There's
that are
no,
just being
there's
rented out.
tons of parking right there, Randy, in
Oh,
the
really?
front.
There it is.
No,
They're all
no,
on the
it's not
front and all
about
on
a
the
car
side.
pulling in, it's about a rig with a
RV
trailer and a
parking.
motorhome pulling in.
They can't do
Because
that
that's
with
who
the
really
current
stops at the
chamber.
visitor center is, the snowbirds, the visitors. I would say half the vehicles are big, not just cars. In other words, they're towing things, they're RVs. And so in that sense, the parking situation wouldn't be good. There's a property on the corner of, let me see, 11th in California, where the Daniel's Beef Jerky is currently. He's obviously gonna be moving. That's a pretty big lot, and there's a lot of parking around that area because there's no other businesses that are open on that street right there. The problem is, they don't wanna sell for this.
Not for that use.
Yeah, the people that own it want to sell it for a particular use that agrees with them, and this isn't one of them. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, they just don't want to sell, so.
And there's lease options out there, or
That was kind of an option or a thought that I thought was good, plus it's right across the street. But one of the other issues is, when you think of where the chamber is now, it's a great spot, but you don't catch all the people coming in from California, right? They come in, they turn left at Riverside, you catch all the other people, and then I'm sure there's some people that would go through the light to go purposefully to that visitor center, but to be able to have it on Riverside Drive, you're catching people coming and going from both directions.
Have you looked at Dairy Queen? Have they talked to the Scara there?
That will not sell, is
Will
my
not
understanding,
sell.
will not sell. So, no, I thought too, that'd be great.
Gotta be a way.
We even talked about Main Street Park, which is railroad property, it's not town property, which would be pretty good, but I don't think they are entertaining that thought at the railroad. And it would be a little bit scary to think, you know, you go over there and then all of a sudden in a few years, they decide they need that too.
So am I living in the gray area? Because I feel like that place is not very visible if you're driving down California, unless you're literally looking that way. Or is there gonna be a
No,
huge sign that says
think of
chamber
the
this way?
Western Park, there's USA Gas right here,
Mhm.
right there across the street. The corner
Where all the signs
where they
always
put the
are.
All the signs
banners
are.
with the bungees, what you were saying,
Oh.
right there.
I was thinking in the back where the rodeo
No,
grounds
there's a
used to be.
huge tree.
No, ma'am.
No, we looked at that area too, but.
'Cause there's nothing
and
back
Steve,
there.
I think, will support me on this one. That area where all the dirt mounds and asphalt, that's a future ball field, I think, you know, close the street. So we kind of discounted that right away. We talked about the lot behind Spanky's. Obviously, there's a plan for that. And I'm not sure that would fit into the deed restriction anyway.
No.
What
It
about
just
the
seemed like
theaters and
a-
all their, got the old Red Pony and all those historical
Well,
places.
those
that would
are,
be
those
awesome.
are viable.
The
In
old movie
fact,
theaters, I
the
mean, it's
museum has
great,
been
but-
offered,
That would be great.
but it's just so much work.
The
I can't
parking,
even
you'd
tell
be
you.
Screwed on the parking still, but
There would be some parking for big rigs along the street, but it's a little bit more dangerous.
that work would.
Red
work
Pony?
though,
Yeah.
You want Red
aesthetically.
Pony?
I agree that Western Park would be a wonderful place, but I hate to cut any of the park out.
I agree with Jerry Hooper on that statement.
Well, and honestly, we don't have any mock-ups or if we could, you know, we all went over there and we stood there and we looked around and we went, wow, right here. It's not a huge footprint. It would be a modular structure, not a permanent, you know, it would be something that could be moved at some point. Obviously, there would have to be, you know, a slab probably or some footings and, you know, some lines run for sewer and stuff like that. So it would take a chunk of that park away, but it's not a huge chunk. And I think it's a viable thing to talk about.
how much, like we were talking about the use of, for kids and all that stuff. This area, I've noticed that, and I'm talking about the southeast corner portion.
This is
I don't see
exactly-
a lot of use in that corner.
They're real close to it with soccer, yeah.
Well, the soccer fields are a little bit further east of
Soccer
that.
and Pop Warner.
use
They
pretty
have
much the whole
multiple.
way.
Tree is where he was talking about, there's, every time I've seen that, everybody kind of sets up, but they're
Right.
further in that way.
And the,
It
Built
just
on that.
depends on the size of this building that they're talking
Okay,
about.
and I think I talked to you about this, Nora, on, is there any deed restrictions to us for taking that as a park to do anything like that with?
No, I don't think.
no, if we did that at City
Um,
Park, that would be an issue. When you're changing, right, what the
With the
intent of
types.
the property.
Right.
My-
What we would have to, I would have to go back and look at our RP&P. There may be, I have to really look at that to see, because what Jerry's asking is, does, and I don't think it does. I think the more that I think about it, we could do this. There would have to be some fee involved. In other words, they would have to pay us some kind of a fee.
Because at some point in time,
'Cause-
those were given to us for park usage.
Right.
And what my question is there anything in that
It was written into
deed
our.
that we got for it that would restrict this?
Yeah, it's
Gotta
the same as
consider that.
Pop Harvey Park. That was when the town was formed. It was formed as that being a park. And I don't think that they,
Yeah, and once it has the park designation, I don't know that you could put anything on, I don't know.
yeah, if it's an RP&P lease, no, you can't. But you couldn't lease it to them. But it's not on an RPNP lease. It was designated for.
Would it be worth Christina taking a look at that, maybe making sure we're all clear? And again, this is just a preliminary discussion. I mean, there's no hard plans, but we were excited because we had visited a few spots and it was like,
Just woke Christina up.
this isn't gonna work. This
What do
isn't
you
gonna work.
envision though
Our
as the
downtown
building?
center needs
Because
life.
my thought is like, because I heard you say modular or something like that, but we have across the street a business that just dumped $1 million into making that look legit.
Yeah.
We have this gentleman and these people over here that are investing a bunch of money onto Riverside Drive.
No, and I
then
think
we're gonna go in and throw a modular.
a
right there.
modular office, I mean, it looks like a stick built, depending on the exterior. And I even, when we stood there, we looked over at the bathrooms and it's that color with the green roof. And I thought we could kind of match that aesthetically to look like, it belongs there. I don't see an issue with I know what you're saying, like the cheapness.
Is it gonna be an eyesore?
Yeah.
Christina?
Sure. Well, Mayor and Council, so first of all, I wanted to kind of hear your discussion to see where you're leaning and what this was going to look like, but I can certainly kind of research. I took a preliminary look at the statutes and at least just under state law, obviously, if you're using a park, it tends to be for park purposes or something incidental to support the park. So that's something that we just have to kind of look at closely of how we would structure something like this. And then obviously, if there's any type of deed restrictions, Nora can forward those to me and I can see, what abilities we have to, if we can move forward or not.
And I think it's a good conversation to have because maybe one of you, somebody in the audience goes, oh, I know a perfect building, because we haven't found it. And I don't know that we've looked under every, rug in town, but just driving the main streets, there's really not a lot of options. And
That's
again,
where you want it.
yeah.
Want to be on Riverside?
And what I liked about that is if you're driving from upriver, I mean, it's right there. And if you're driving into town, it's right there. It's good. It would be very visible, very accessible. The left turn lane is already there anyway. So I just think it's a viable option. And again, we have lots of time. I think the railroad said that at some point they would give them a 90-day, but they probably won't do that for a couple months. So we're probably looking at September-ish at the worst case. And they even said they would work with them if, they were having trouble. And the railroad is offering some compensation for the building, for the upgrades and stuff over the years, which was my first concern, like, wow.
Yeah, they
Just did the
and all
floor,
that.
we did a new kitchen when I was
Roof or
there,
something,
the
right?
roof,
Just that, you got a
AC.
building sitting there, yeah.
So I think they're offering a substantial chunk of money to say here, so that's good. And then, sure, and then the chamber itself, as an organization is, willing to take out a loan or a mortgage on a structure, on a building. Just not $1 million building, which is a lot of, there's at least 3 buildings in town that are $1 million.
Be clumped together with a chamber, like if it was a building with multiple offices in it.
Well, Economic Development Corporation has an office in there right now. I'm not sure who else would,
Put them in the pool house.
yeah, pool house.
No, I just had a question on time frame. If in a perfect world, how long is it going to take to put this modular building down? Are we going to do surveys that are going to cost
Modular building out there.
that much more? What are we getting involved in?
Yeah, I'm not interested in the town putting forward a bunch of money for this project. The chamber has said they can commit the funds to it. What I'm looking at is just a place. And the other thing is we looked at a lot of places that are off, like a block off the main street, and they just don't work. Not just because of parking, but just visibility. They're not, when you drive by and see that train, boom, there's a chamber. And I don't know what's gonna happen to the train.
Nothing in town, downtown?
Railroad has said they will
Joshua Street Mall?
not, we heard they were gonna demo it, and they
Yeah.
said, no, they're not
Oh.
gonna do that, so.
Because there is that corner lot over by the post office.
Well, that's what I said, but he said parking.
Oh, Terry's Water?
No, not
area?
Terry's Water, the
Oh, I was
other,
talking about Terry's
but
Water.
it's a vacant lot,
That's
but,
a crit lot.
That's
The
a crit lot.
apothecary?
no, right across, well, next to the crit lot.
Yep, there was where the Davis yard was, and then in front of that, right?
Yeah, there's a small portion of
That's
that that's
tribal.
still,
That's crit.
they took over that whole
Yes.
Yeah.
That whole parking lot for Chevrolet, that's critical.
The apothecary has been part of the conversation that he doesn't want to sell.
He will not
He
sell.
absolutely does not want to sell.
That would be a great building.
So Dairy Queen, viable, doesn't want to sell.
Drink your water.
And again, there's several properties that are $1 million+ and there's really nothing.
Downtown Event Center.
Yeah, $1 million+. I mean, yeah. That Hell's Angel building over there, 1.2 or 1.5 million, and there's nothing in there. It's a blank slate, you know? So it almost seems like people don't really want to sell because at those prices, I don't know who's going to buy them. Then the problem with like that Hell's Angel building is parking is going to be horrendous.
That's a bad,
You know.
that's a bad.
That could cause a
Spend that
lot
kind
of
of money.
accidents and
You
issues.
can spend that kind of money, buy a little brown jug complex and tear it down.
It's Laura Ford
could go
building,
for the
not
whole
the Hell's Angel
complex.
building. Laura Ford owns that.
What happens?
Oh, really? The realtor?
Yes,
I'll be darned.
yeah. I don't know if she'd like that.
Yeah, that's my only way to ID it. The rusty metal building over there, so,
No, it's a metal building with patina.
yeah, patina. So again, if somebody has an idea, you know, a cool idea of where we could put it, and it's not our responsibility, but
We can
it's
input,
our,
give some help.
yeah, I feel like you know, we need to pitch in and do what we can. Obviously, the chamber is an important partner for us, and not because I used to work there, it's because I know.
And they're
from-
looking to buy,
So
not
that's
lease.
kind
Sides
of
of the
why
aisle.
we're against it.
And yeah, they're against the leasing.
Are
or-
they against the leasing completely?
Unless they could get something like 10, 20-year lease.
Who's that?
The
Chamber.
chamber. I mean, because right now they don't, with the railroad, they never entered into a lease.
Go ahead,
agreement.
No, there
Melissa.
is a lease
There is
agreement.
a lease.
But it just expired, or it is
It's a
expired.
year to year, and they're gonna not renew it.
I mean, I would try to get them something stronger than a year-to-year lease. Something more like multiple.
But does
10,
the chamber
5-year,
only want
10-year,
Town, you
to
say?
buy and not lease?
or, you know, something lock them in.
Melissa's on the phone and she can answer
Take something.
any of
back
these
from
questions
Crit,
you have.
Lease one of their properties that they just bought, you know?
I don't know.
Melissa, do you
I
guys,
don't. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, I've been wanting to jump in, but I've been being very patient. So I do apologize. I just found out that this was on the agenda earlier today when I sent a message that I had a dentist appointment. So I could have sent you a list of many of the places that I did talk to, and a lot of them you guys have named. I can send over that list when I get back to my office. But no, we are open to either purchasing or leasing. The issue with leasing is we don't want to have to do this again in a short amount of time frame. So if it could be something like a long-term lease, we're not against that at all. I know some of our board has want to purchase just so we don't have to do this again. But it's really what we can find. I could tell you some of the places that you have named, we also thought of, and we thought they'd be excellent spots. Either they don't want to sell or they're asking $1 million for them, or some of them aren't even open to leasing at all. So I think I'm on, don't quote me on this because like I said, I'm in my car, but I think I'm on like option M. I know there is still two that one I'm going to try to take my board to look at tomorrow. And then I haven't gotten prices. I haven't got anything. It was come look at, see like the space. And another one that you mentioned, somebody else mentioned that too, and I've reached out, but nobody has called me back. But most of the other ones you all mentioned, we've all talked about, and I do apologize. Like I said, I would have sent those over just to kind of streamline what the options that we've already looked at so far. So my apologies on that.
So the Dairy Queen wasn't interested at all?
that's my understanding.
No, they're not.
Who's that?
He will not sell.
Montelascara?
And he's living there, I think, so. So I don't know, it's,
I can
Table.
I didn't know that.
yeah, and we're not making any decisions today. I just wanted to bring it out.
It's just an open discussion.
Yeah, just a discussion, and I know people are gonna say no right off, and I would like to at least consider the idea moving forward, but there's no hurry. I don't wanna rush into anything. But if anybody wants to go over there and look at it, I think when you stand there in that park and look at it and you go, okay, it's gonna be this big, it's really not a huge footprint on that park. I know there's, I talked to Steve, he's concerned about, that's for recreation, and I get it. But it's a big park, and all the recreation is over there, and there may be a future time when we say, well, we wanted to put something over there, So I don't want to get in the way of that either, but,
We may want to put a Dairy Queen there.
yeah, Dairy Queen.
We can also help with security as well at the park. We do have cameras currently right now, so we can also have that at the new location. It doesn't necessarily have to be a modular. I know that was somebody's concern as well too. And going forward, if you guys would like me to send the invite to you whenever we do go look at a place, I am more than happy to do that.
Great.
So again, my apologies that I'm not there in person. I feel really bad.
No, that's right.
Forgive you.
We forgive, yes. All right, so, future discussion item, I think if everybody's square, just wanted to put it out there. And I'm sure many of you will go tell people and it'll make its rounds, and that's good. I want to hear feedback from people. So, Steve?
Melissa, if you're still there, this is Dusty. If you need someone to tag along, let me know.
So
I would love to. I'll send you an invite.
So when the mayor called me about this, my first thought was, yeah, this is obviously a park. And to Erica's point and to Mr. Hooper's point, it should necessarily stay a park. If this is to be done, I think it's a great location. So average daily traffic and traffic counts along Riverside Drive there, it's the low 20,000 cars a day. So it's probably twice as much as what you get on California Avenue. So it's a great location. If I have any input in this, it would be to actually have it as close to that front sidewalk as possible to limit the amount of space that impacts the park itself. So yes, there is plans to actually do a feasibility study after we're done with the feasibility study for the city park, is to work on a feasibility study for that park. And the point being is we want to, as a community and as a committee, add much more amenities to that park. And what that means is actually redeveloping that whole front section, including, ramadas, a fitness walk, that whole back street area that is undeveloped right now. There's a potential where we could eliminate that street and build another baseball park. I would love to see a skate rink in the town of Parker to give another location for people to have birthday parties and whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff that we can plan for this park. But if you're to do it, I would say let's just do it right. I'm fully about stick built. I think, to Dusty's point, we want something to look nice and attract. So modular, just depending on the type of modular, could be iffy. But I support what you're planning to do. It's a great location, and if we can do it, I'm on board.
I think we probably need to bring in Park and Recs, kind of throw it out to them, which I'm sure you'll do anyway, so.
Well, Steve, you did measure that back behind Aaron Hill Field with the street and the right of way across the street.
Yes, sir.
You do have room, right?
Yeah,
For a field.
so what we talked about doing back there, if we eliminate 8th Street, we could actually get another softball field back there. Granted, it would be a minimal, meaning that the bare minimum size requirements for a softball field, but it's doable. Obviously, that's what the feasibility study would work out the kinks and obviously the spacing needed to do that. But when I walked it with a wheel and measured it, yes, we can squeeze it in there.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we didn't do the back-to-back thing. Obviously, Aaron Hill Field is where it is, so
Right.
there's no way to put it in that
And
ideal
obviously,
setting.
depending on what happens with the city park, obviously, if we end up doing the full renovation at the city park, you're gonna have 5 beautiful baseball fields. So there might not be a need to actually have another baseball field, softball field over there.
Rodeo ground over there?
You could use it
used to be.
for other amenities. So it has a lot of potential. You could do a splash pad over there. There's a lot of things that we can do. So But as far as location, yes, that front corner is a great spot, just pushed up as close to the street as possible.
All right, thanks, Steve. So something to stew about a little bit, maybe, think about. Maybe go over there and just, where we were at was right next to that giant tree. And then there's a giant cactus in front of that. And we were saying, we don't want to move any of this stuff or take it out. Just put it right there. So it's worth at least stopping by and taking a look at, so. All right. Item number 5, discussion regarding the deed restrictions and zoning for River Motorsports located at 616 Riverside. Nora?
Okay, so you guys sort of heard a little earlier about the 2 lots that we actually lease to River Sports. We're in a kind of a lease with an option to buy those. They have another year, I believe, year and a half on the lease, on the 2 parcels for lease. The one parcel behind O'Reilly's where they're wanting to do, the gentleman is wanting to do the tiny home sales, modular sales, that fits right in with the deed restrictions and also the zoning. Where we're coming into kind of a sticky situation would be on the one behind Spanky's, because he wants to do the 6 small homes that are, he would sell the homes, and people would actually be living in those. It's zoned commercial right now. You can't really, you could only have 1 home on there in that commercial zone. So the deed restriction, part of the deed restriction is that on those particular lots is the, you have to collect sales tax. It has to be something that,
A retail.
some kind of retail business, so that there's some sales tax coming in to the town. OT is your office transitional. We, at this point, we could change it to rezone that to OT, which would keep it a commercial. So you could have some retail on there, but you could also have some homes on there.
How many homes? Does it matter?
And that's the part that we as, or you guys as council can put a limit on. You guys can, you're right now in the position where you can change the deed restrictions to whatever you want it to look like. So if you only want 5 on there, if you think there's only 4 gonna fit, if you think that, 6 is a good number,
How big are they?
now would be
But
a
it's
time,
4 living units per lot at this point.
right.
I would just like to look at it, because like this place over here, where you could, because what is that? What did we say? How many feet were at the Anderson's Trailer Park? How many feet are those apart?
They're 8
Not-
feet apart.
Not enough.
No, yeah, like that's what.
8
no.
feet? That's a lot. That, between my house and my neighbor, I don't even know, it might be 8
No,
feet.
these are, they're like, you open your door, they open their
They
door,
open
now
their
you
door
got
and-
2 feet.
Well, yeah,
Because 5 feet off the property line should be each side. On the sides.
I'm envisioning like the units they just brought in by Wacog over there by the high school.
Did I hear him say 400 square feet? Okay. That's really tiny.
And then financing, how is that gonna be handled for your workforce housing? Can we ask?
Yeah, it's a
gentlemen?
discussion, sure, yeah.
We're kind of
Yeah.
at a first volley back and forth on ping pong.
Just
So
say your name again, so the,
is Michael Villeneuve. What these are is there's these different feelings on it. A park model has a slightly different footprint than a tiny home. Tiny homes are under 400 square feet. So most of the ones that have been plopped all around are 396. Everybody maxes it.
Like, what would an example of that be here?
10 by 40.
Like, Castle Rock, that community, like those little ones that they were selling
Right
there?
on the water.
the ones that are right on, that they just put
And
in.
a size-wise is pretty close to approximately here to this side of the room. So imagine.
12 by 40,
Yeah,
basically?
imagine a fairly solid travel trailer, not a fifth wheel.
Right.
This would be about the size of that. And they've been very, very well manufactured and designed in the last few years and really upgraded. It's
What do
not,
they
it's
sell
not
for?
this little box thing that is envisioned. They're actually amazing.
What do they
The
go
only
for?
concern I had was that the RV stand, if it falls under RV versus mobile home for the
So,
financing portion of it. Because
yeah,
we're talking about affordable housing, but what are the financing options for those people?
so titling can come in as either a tiny home or a park model from the manufacturer. It can be permanently affixed, and that turns it into a tax thing, which we had brought originally to the city. I wasn't aware that the property tax was not kept by Parker until recently.
Yeah, we don't have
So-
property tax in Parker.
I was kind of coming in hoping with an in perpetuity property tax to you here, you know, hit them every year. This would be, the sales tax component's pretty stout. We also are going to have all that pedestrian dollars of all those people living there. Something in real estate called a walking score, which is the ease of access to everything else. That would be somewhere in the high 90s. You can walk to everything. You've got medical, you've got dental.
So they
you
wouldn't be
have-
able to finance those.
No, they're totally financeable, 100%.
That's what I was wondering.
There are even some programs with VA and FHA that can plug in. Our big thing is here, there's an absolute massive shortage of affordable housing, and especially new is non-existent. Workforce to recruit things like teachers, some of the hard trades, the nurses that are traveling around, doctor staff, even a veterinarian, they come here and there's nowhere to go. It's either off on the price or too rough. We want to be right in the middle. Yes, there's a little room here to make some money. That's the way it works. The reality is providing something that's drastically missing here. I purchased a 10-unit on Joshua that I'm working with Wraparound and Regional Center. They've put in 4 of their families in there that were on the edge of homeless into my community.
Was that the one by the high school that I was just talking
Yeah.
about? No, I didn't know you.
Yeah, and was Green Acres, it's now Town Edge, and I went and established it with the city. That was my test bed, and it filled immediately. There's a huge demand here for affordable housing for people making $17 an hour that should have a home.
What are you selling those for?
I actually am renting those, and those have been at approximately $600 to
Are
$750.
you talking about the ones over here?
Those are emergency housing for WACOG though, right?
I have those as well. I have 3 people on that program as well. So we've put out to the city people, hey, how do we help you get some of these people in? And they've been wide open. I filled the whole place and remodeled it in 1 year. So based on the studies and the phone calls, it looks like there's room here for approximately 100 of these units to hit at a point where your monthly payment would be $1,000 to $1,200. These plug straight into that equation where you could actually own something for what you paid for renting and it's brand new. We're not looking to create anything that's ever going to turn into a ghetto or something crazy.
So if
This
they
is-
buy those houses, they own the lot and the house.
We're gonna have to put together some sort of an HOA type of a fee, because I'm gonna have to keep up with what the city wants. We also want it to be beautiful, and I don't wanna we have to have control over who buys a little bit, as much as we can do without using discrimination.
Yes, the
and-
Fair Housing Act month is April. so-
Absolutely.
So how much are people actually going to be
co-ops.
financing if we're talking about affordable here? What would one of these homes go
Probably
for?
around the 100,000 zone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fair number where you could end up with a
A quarter of
800-ish,
anything for sale on
you know,
Park.
around an $800 a month payment. Down payment assistance can bring this to almost nothing out of pocket. $3,000 to $5,000 as a move-in for somebody.
Will you put a cap on that?
If we can get
'Cause
our
we're
number.
talking about affordable housing.
I was gonna say,
What I
it's
would
not
hate to see is we call it affordable housing, and then the market takes over. And then Randy, the appraiser's gonna come in and say, that's ridiculous. You guys are selling these affordable houses now at a ridiculous amount. Nobody can afford them.
I would be totally open to that as a suggestion, and if we need it as a guideline to make it happen. I
Well, and
think
it's
we
free
put-
market. If he overprices them, they won't sell,
Well, and you
right?
gotta be realistic too. Think about
Yeah,
Parker.
I'm just
Who do
doing
you
for
know in the town of Parker that's looking to buy a home? For one, and
Lots of people,
secondly, who is going to be interested in moving their family into a tiny home? Realistically, you're talking about Californians that are probably going to live in those.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the way it's going to
I
go, because
agree
it's cheaper to buy
completely.
one of these things in the town of Parker than it is to go and spend 5 times as much upriver just to let it sit there.
Yeah,
and
but
then
you don't
still
want to
gotta-
live in the town of Parker if you're from California. I mean, unless you're buying a lot and building a giant.
Well, if it's only
30
$100,000
story,
and
you
within
know.
walking distance of everything, I mean, shoot.
See it as affordable homing. I would see it as doctors living there because they need to come work here. I wouldn't see it as part of our
That's not a
community
bad
going
thing
to buy.
either. I
Teacher
mean, that's
housing.
not bad either.
Yeah.
Because you could
not
All those
only
people go to
our
Havasu.
community
Yeah,
members.
go ahead.
Rob again, Riverside. One thing that just came to my mind, something that I have been fighting for 2 years here, since I opened this store, is I can't hire people because there's no place for them to live. I've had 90% of my employees are still having to commute from Havasu, and I can't, that's one of the biggest problems I have, is trying to get good help, technicians and so forth, because there's no place for them to live. So that's a big problem that I've had.
Right.
So to Dusty, to your point about who's gonna be buying these, I think it's gonna be the nurses, the trade, the teachers, people that are coming in
Right.
to work, and that's what I see. I don't see this being, the Californians coming in, I'm in the resort or the recreation business.
Right.
The Californians that are coming in, if they're gonna buy those, they're wanting them on the water. They're doing it for recreation. I don't see that as being I don't see that as being the demographic that's gonna be looking at this. I agree. I think it's gonna be that employee coming in, whether it be to work for chief or to, whatever, it's gonna be, they need that kind of housing, and that's what we just don't have enough of here.
Well, I think we're up to about 300 people a day driving down from Havasu, something like that.
And also, I don't think that we're chasing the weekender at all, because there's not going to be the garages, the places for the boats, the jet skis, that you're going to have.
They're buying all the houses in
you got a
town.
boat storage
They
right
want the
across the
lot,
street.
the big lots, right?
The discussion, say 1 year from now, is me back here again going, it worked out pretty good, we might need to tweak a few things. I don't want to be Copacabana with 24 clone homes.
Right.
I want a little personality, but phase 2 of this is to up the ante to single wide manufacturer, new and nice, some of these other spots around town that could use it, because Parker still needs this next level of the family not to a tiny home, something a little bigger. Let's give them 1,000 square feet with a couple of bedrooms, a little extra parking. That can be done at the range of around 150 to 160,000. Again, then you're arriving at a $1,600 mortgage versus you can't rent anything at 16.
Oh,
Now
it
you
would
own
be
it.
way less than that.
Pardon?
I would think what would you say, 170, 160?
160 to 170, it looks like, if we give you
I think that would
decent
put
space.
you 900 a month, based on my experience, 1,000 maybe.
Yeah,
I
we,
like phase 2 for our community.
No, I view it as like a professional housing
For sure.
space, and that's great because we need that. Like you said, people come here, they want to work here, they can't work here because there's nowhere to live.
Well, the other thing
And that
is,
$100,000 for a place that's
this,
super affordable.
this property was purchased by the town before I got on council, when that was 2016, so this lot's been sitting here for 10 years or better. It's empty. It's been empty, right? And it's not because you guys are leasing it, because I see Laney's signs up there, these properties for sale. So the fact of the matter is, if we're worried about businesses not being able to go in there and generate some sales tax for us, nothing's been generated for 8 or 10 years anyway, so.
There's nothing in the pipes.
That's what I'm saying. To me, don't threaten me with affordable housing, because that's exactly what we need here.
Well,
Any housing, actually,
Yeah, but I know I like that we call it affordable housing, but I just, the businessman in me and everybody else and the market's gonna come in and do that. I just wanna see some assurances that
we want.
it's gonna
would-
stay
would-
that way.
Would workforce housing make you happier? I would, even if you've got people in the town that say county jobs, city jobs, anybody in this room that has.
I mean, I like what you're putting out. I really do like this, but I just
Seen-
want to keep that from going in, that first phase, boom, that's just that hook, and then all of a sudden, it just takes off.
And that's where you guys can put in those deed restrictions.
I would be open to that.
And I like
Talking about two
workforce
lots,
better, yeah, because I just think when you say affordable housing, I think
Behind
of our
everything.
community and our actual community members that are gonna be able to afford this housing. it doesn't look like that. So I like workforce better.
And I've just
myself.
seen in the industry, the workforce or affordable housing is just a buzzword that's stuck in to pull us or people that are in the public.
No, I agree, workforce housing.
Yeah.
That's good.
And again, I would be totally fine that they would need to be gainfully employed in Parker. I'm a
I don't know
weekender,
about
but I mean,
Yeah.
the reality is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need any crazy like, and affordable. It's
I-
not
for
illegal to
instance-
make some money. You know what I mean? They don't have to be dirt cheap budget
Christina?
homes. Like,
Are you awake?
yeah, because I have a horrible property up on Treasure
Here, yes.
that
Okay.
people are beating the door down. It needs everything. And it's $100,000 and it's 1964. So if you could get new, smaller and perfect closer to town, making that extra car not needed, et cetera, and work a job in town, it's gonna be a win because there's no second choice right now. If you wanna own something, there's nothing that's, again, we're back to affordable, nothing that plugs into wages versus home to make the ratio at the bank happy. Banks don't wanna lend above 43, 45% of what you make. Take two people making 17 an hour and do 43%. You're 107,000. Like it's a sweet spot. And again, the proof will be in the pudding. The first round, if you'd like to roll the dice here on a first round, is do it, take a look at it, and we're all big people here. There's lots of dirt that this can work. Parker's gonna recruit people for retirement on affordable due to the weather, the medical, all the cost, all the activities. This is not a problem that's going away. The aging population's gonna demand downsize and more affordable to match the mailbox money. Tiny pensions, Social Security, cost of living increases. A park like this in an environment with a controlled environment on overhead, I can do a cost of living increase on our little fees to keep it going, to keep the city happy, and there's no shock to them every year. Cost of living +1 is a good industry standard. I'm fine with that too for maintenance.
Yeah.
So we can control because it's new. There's not gonna be these hidden costs where you buy a piece of junk and you gotta do a roof and the full plumbing year or two. There's no
And
surprises
really,
here.
realistically, all they need from us is to modify those deed restrictions so they can do this, because
Correct.
even though, because you guys are leasing you're leasing those lots, which means you would sell them, not us.
Correct.
So it takes us out of that process, which when I first heard it, I thought, well, you can't do that. Those are our lots, but you can do that. Which is, I think, a good thing in the sense that it takes us out of it. Our ability to stop this project is to say yes or no to the deed restrictions, rezone, whatever.
Correct. And you have to look at too, those two lots or one parcel is back behind Spanky's. And you've got a tribal lot in between Spanky's and this parcel. So when you go to put another business back there, you're one lot off of,
we're not talking about
Back-
like losing out
back.
on millions of dollars of
right?
tax income.
Yeah, it's not like they're knocking on the door to buy these lots as much as we
Exactly.
would have liked. But when you look at the overall picture of those lots that were purchased by the town, I mean, you have some viable businesses on there.
Too.
And are these the last two lots that we partially own?
Yes,
So we would get, this thing would finally come to fruition that was done 8 or 10 years ago.
Right.
The purpose of buying all those lots was to sell them and have businesses on there. You know, it used to be a giant empty furniture store, well, not empty, a full furniture store that sat there for, I don't know how long.
Right.
50 years.
So the plan worked. Congratulations. You were on the council. You were on the council at the time. To me, this is the end of that road of us buying those properties and turning them over to put viable businesses or housing. I mean, I
Well,
think that's great.
That's a question I have for Christina. When we purchased this, it was with the understanding that it was supposed to be retail sales coming in there. Did we go out on a vote for that? I don't remember. We have
That
to
was
vote to
before
sell.
my time, I think, here, but,
We didn't
so
have
I
to
would
vote.
have to check.
Okay, I don't think we voted that in. I think that was just the council, because if I remember right, we just only have to go to the public to sell.
oh, yes, you
Right.
don't,
Right.
Yes,
So,
yes, to sell the property, if it's at a certain value, yes.
right. So would happen with the deed restrictions that we purchased it with now? Are we okay to go ahead and change them?
So what I need to do, obviously, I need to kind of look at the deed restrictions just to make sure that there aren't any kind of conditions that need to be met, other consent that we need to receive. So I can give you sort of a overview of what needs to occur, right? All the steps. If it's truly that it's right now town property and the town is the one that impose the deed restrictions only, then, you know, it would probably easy enough to have the town then just essentially amend those deed restrictions. Again, if there's sort of other players involved or there's different transactions, I just need to get all that information. And then I can take a look to see kind of what steps we would need basically to get there. As for like, I guess, adding more deed restrictions, I guess because I know some of the questions have been about kind of like the
Right.
workforce, I can look at that as well to see what, you know, we could tailor that obviously is constitutional and that we could add in there and bring back those options.
Right. Well, I know when we purchased it, we didn't have a time limit on any of the deed restrictions. I know that, but I didn't know if we could change them or not.
Right, I believe it's open-ended. I don't think it's been ever amended since it's been
No.
adopted.
No.
So Nora, like, what would the right zoning and what restrictions would need, like, what would this look like for us to vote on?
We could do OT, right?
You would
Yeah,
do, yeah,
We
you
would have to lift the
to.
restriction that it has to produce sales tax.
Right.
On that lot. Well, we're talking about two lots. One, it's,
No, no, no.
No,
We're
no,
just
we're-
talking about the one that would have to change.
I know, but the overall scope of this project is another lot. Same thing, you own it, you're gonna sell
But
it.
it's retail sales.
But
that's
So
gonna
we're
sell
good.
it.
Those will produce a significant, I mean, if you sell one of these tiny homes, it's gonna produce a chunk of money for the town.
May accidentally outproduce sales tax, no offense.
Probably
of
will.
The current dealership, because I believe the sales platform offering tiny home and the different manufactured homes that are available with the amount of the town that's redeveloping through manufactured homes, a lot of scrape and replaces right now are manufacturing. We're gonna be the avenue. There's nobody here selling it. The last two people that attempted that have had weird demises. I'm looking at another property that used to be the manufactured home guy down the street.
Wow.
I think that may accidentally become incredibly successful, that we will actually outgrow our britches there, and we'll be reaching for something else bigger to
Is that-
move that.
Is
But
that
in the
facility
short
empty
term-
right now? That building where the Apex homes are being constructed? There's somebody in there.
I don't know.
I would love to see one.
I want to see what it looks
Have
like
you,
on
have you
the
been like
lot.
Yuma? Are you familiar with like the Yuma area?
Yeah, well, if you want to go see one, at the tribal landfill, we have 4 sitting there right now.
Okay.
The one by the airport?
Yeah,
Really?
there's 4 of them, brand new
Yeah,
back
my
there
concern
sitting.
would be like you go into Yuma, and I'm sure that a lot of those little communities around like the park and stuff, they looked great back in like the 70s and 80s, but they still look exactly the same today, and it just completely dates those neighborhoods, and
Oh.
it kind of like determines who's gonna live there, you know, and I don't know, it's like it used to be a nice part, and now nothing changed, and it looks super dated.
So you said in the future, you were thinking mobiles?
Well, I think that the other piece for this, we'll call it the upgrade market. You know, a family being crammed into a small one because it makes sense on the budget. The next level here is the family unit with 2 earners that maybe don't have to be forced with either a stay-at-home mom or dad, that would need a little more stretch room, the second and the third bedroom. There are nice single and double wides that are still in price ranges that could work in Parker, especially a lot of the dirt, Lakeside 5, Crystal Canyon, that you can buy dirt and put one of these on and be in the mid to high 2s, low 3s. Somebody's gonna get a new home on owned dirt, have the tax, and we still have the sales tax of the mobile. So
And
we can,
we have restrictions against mobiles in town.
which we have to
talk
play
about
on, and that might be another piece we
Yeah.
have at a future visit here, because there's a lot of room in this town with some minor tweaking on the fringes to get some cost-effective housing rather than affordable, cost-effective new housing to go in there.
Good.
And the
Cost-effective.
mobiles might be the way
I
to
was
do it.
involved in a project up in Havasu Landing, and they brought in pre-built homes. Have you looked at those?
Yeah, and those are all
Because those are
options.
stick-built.
Yeah,
They may bolt together, but they're stick-built homes.
And those are doable. Ours is, we don't quite know what the market's gonna bear here. No one's ever put their foot into that water. We can talk a manufacturer into giving us a model. And people will come in and be like, yeah, I love it. You'll probably be shocked at how nice these new single wides and double wides are,
Oh,
as well as
I don't disagree with you on that. It's just,
the mobiles are, the
Yeah.
little ones are amazing.
we're gonna get a lot of flack, I think, if we start saying, yeah, now we can put mobiles in. Because in the past, if you pulled one out, it was done. You couldn't put anything back in.
And that's for fear of turning it into
Yeah.
those, like the places in Yuma, you know, in 30 years, it's just gonna be rundown mobile homes that nobody can afford to pull out,
Right.
you know. And
I would much rather see those pre-built, because I've seen how they go together, and they last like any home. It's just a lot quicker.
Possibly, so if we took what is loved and hated about Copacabana, that's sitting idle, parking, there's some weird things that the
nothing
city,
loved about it.
so,
There's 0%.
But when you looked at what it was before,
Oh,
it's
yes.
pretty nice. I mean, in that
Absolutely.
sense.
so if we went outer sections deeper in the back edges of Parker, out here plus, does that mentally plug in a little better with this cosmetic equation? Because towns are gonna age, but if we can start new and that 50-year clock is now, what is built now is so much better than what is 50-year-old sitting here now. I think we're gonna fast track that, and I think the association's the key to making somebody responsible to never let it run down.
Yeah, that's the real key, because if you drive around this town, you're gonna find about 40% of the properties are dilapidated in that sense, or be it tribal or deeded. You know, you can't really control that. A lot of these homes around in this very neighborhood were built, you know, in the 60s, mid to late 60s,
way
my
before
house
that.
was. And a lot of them show.
Yeah.
I hope mine doesn't, but a lot of them do.
I just think the pre-built homes, I don't know if you've ever seen them. They just bring in, they set the wall up, it's already built.
It's like, what,
And then they're bolted together, stick-built homes. And I think the idea of that would go much better than a mobile home. And I lived in a mobile home, so I don't have anything
Yeah,
against
so
it.
did I.
Could we
On the
table it
river.
and kind of see like a model of what it'll look like, how the floor will be set up, what?
we're jumping like way ahead.
Yeah.
And what I can do is I can bring in, we can do something simple if you want a presentation on the cosmetics and what they look like. I think as we get into those, my knowledge right now is that we're at around a $200 a square foot, $225 a square foot. That's house money plus dirt. We're gonna be 300, 400, and I think we've lost the essence of what I'm trying to get. Because now you're in,
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
absolutely.
so
But what's a home now? 350 to 4?
How many homes
Here?
are for sale in Parker? You got
Yeah,
one
three. Pick all
400,
three.
one 3. Yeah.
There's, I literally looked today and there was three.
360.
I'm gonna sell my house. I'm just going through the motions so I can sell it all and live in a VW bus.
In the new bus you just got?
Yeah.
Yeah, that house right there is 470.
We've had houses like the most recent, we had a single family built that was about 8 years old and it still went for 440.
Yeah.
So we're really that under 4 almost doesn't exist on stick built. You're into nicely modified mobiles because the modular, I don't believe there's even one in Parker. I don't want to be wrong, but I don't even think there's a single modular here. There's some duplexes that were prefabbed on templates and everything brought in on trucks,
Yeah.
but that's still like a true stick built.
Yeah.
This price point, I believe we're hostage to Park Model Mobile. I don't think we've got the dollars for modular with losing that price point.
These are significantly smaller too. I mean, we're talking 400 square feet, so.
Those
stick-built
tiny ones are,
400,
yeah.
Yeah.
Getting into
fit
the
a need.
1,000 square footer like Kofar and 996, those are still a dinky 2-bedroom, but you got a little more stretch on your kitchen and your living room. And their price point, I believe,
I
is
was
gonna be
looking today,
160
actually.
on those. So
This is more than
we're
this.
even another 50% lower with, I believe, a better score for the city in terms of being right in the mix of things.
Like, have you thought out like a layout and stuff for the property?
I have a little neighborhood thing, and again, today was kind of, this was discussion was come in and throw out, and Jello sticks to a wall, we don't know how much.
Right, and I think honestly, the whole point here was to discuss the deed restrictions and
It is,
zoning
to see if it
anyway,
even
but,
can start.
That was, yeah, if anybody was even,
After Christina does her research, we'll know
I mean,
right away
yeah.
if we can or can't.
Yeah,
But we would have to change the zoning to OT.
yeah. To me, if, you know,
In a work session.
we need housing for a family of 8, and we need housing for a teacher, single, or a married couple, you know? We need all of that, so I'm excited to move forward with you guys. Can I ask who the one guy we didn't get to meet?
Stand up, Tom.
My name's Thomas Brinkman. I'm a realtor here. I work with Laney Scholl.
Okay.
I represent
Oh,
Mike.
we're sorry.
I'm just here for the support. I think that I've been in Parker for almost 20 years. I believe we need it. I think that this gentleman here says, well, you can just put a mobile home or a small tiny house. If you have a restricted area and you just use that part of a restricted area right by Spanky's, then you're going to have control of where you put those tiny homes instead of just having somebody pull their house off and put a tiny home in the middle, and it doesn't make sense. But if you have control over that, and we're open to listening to those ideas, it's not that we're just saying, hey, we want to do this, we're going to try to make as much money as we can. We want to work with you guys to make this all work so everybody wins.
I understand that, but my concern was the mobiles later, because we went through this for years about mobiles.
Right.
And the people didn't want them. We work for the people, so.
Well, and I don't think that, once these, I don't think they're gonna be able to move to a mobile on that particular property.
Right.
Would you be open to, well, maybe we'll put a second option. Let this first one be a little test bed of a few mobiles and a few minis and see what it looks like, and giving people, there would probably be about a $30,000 or $40,000 difference on price point, and kind of see who we attract on round one.
Yeah, I like that. I like the diversity of that, too.
Also,
Different.
did you want to tell them about putting a water station there where you could collect the tax, and maybe putting some kind of self-operated
Yeah, we had
laundry?
originally were thrown that we're looking at revenue. Another option I kicked around was doing a laundromat and with some vending machines, water,
And
ice,
ice.
and a few things to help the tourist, but also the convenience for the people there, because a lot of these units have either stackers or stacker washer dryers or none.
And you get the
And-
traffic from Spanky's, when they're going in there to get their boat supplies, they could get ice right there on the kind of the corner in that back, because people from Spanky's can say, hey, you can get your ice back here.
And I even thought maybe people from the park coming just across the street on convenience, having access to that. And the laundry facilities, I took a look at the one in town over across by Circle K. A lot of people RVs. They may pull some of those RV people in town, and they're gonna spend money at Jack in the Box. So we might feed Spanky's and Jack in the Box accidentally again with this.
Well, personally, I would like to hear from Christina before we go any further.
Absolutely.
That's our lawyer, yeah. And if there's no problem with changing the deed restrictions, then I would be willing to go forward.
Yeah,
Same.
like to keep this going.
No, and I think it's an awesome opportunity for the town to have somebody that's willing to invest their own money into experimenting essentially on something that would benefit professionals and families in the town, so.
We see the housing when he just rebuilt Town's Edge, which was Green Acres, and you saw what that looked like. I invite all you guys to go over and look at what he's done in a matter of 6 months. And it's amazing what he's turned over. There was 4 mobile homes that were not operational that he turned around and was able to work with that program that he's talking about in the city.
And those took basically at-risk homeless in Parker into a program now to get them back mainstream, to go out and get on their feet, get jobs, and go back in and become functional citizens contributing.
Right.
And that was just 4, and that was word of mouth, nobody really doing anything. I just opened it up. I've advertised several times to test the market on the price points. The demand is infinite, it's not finite. The phone rings. I ran an ad this week in White Sheet, 103 calls for a 2-bedroom.
Wow.
At $1,000, and then I bumped it up to 1,200, I still got 45 calls. So that price point where you own it instead of rent it, that creates some legacy, a little reason to work harder, get home, pride of ownership. I think at that, again, we're back at affordable, that affordable ownership, we get a person that's been frustrated as a renter, and we can make them an owner.
Right. And there's first-time buyers programs on that for financing.
The fourplexes are 1,200 a unit, right?
To rent each one?
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
2-bedroom, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, $1,275 for the one on Joshua, just down for me a little bit.
There's tiny homes in Havasu, right?
Yeah, we actually were there this morning looking around for some
They're
feel on
built,
the
they're built
footprint.
tiny built homes. They're not modular homes.
And they're, 275, 3.
That's what I was just gonna say. I
they're-
thought that they were selling for
We're out of that
significantly
zone
more.
again.
Different
We've just
demographic.
lost the reality of the average wage earner finding a place to sleep at night without stacking.
You might be able to get better quality of doctors, nurses here if they had that. It deters some of them from coming into Parker because they don't have the proper housing, and they don't want to drive the 30 miles to Havasu.
Right,
one way.
I know people that basically live at the casino because
Yeah.
they work here and travel back.
But then that you can only last so long.
We talked to Nurses of the World and UNICEF, and both of them have a constant stream that they were like, we'll take a few just to use so we have a place for them to go.
What's Mike's?
So-
3 of his 4.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I've also had demand that the doctors that circulate through for training and work the hospitals, they're not looking long-term for permanence. They need clean, secure,
Right.
convenient, and close.
Right.
So again, we're not looking to catch, a cardiologist who's gonna be doing major surgeries. There's a lot of people that come here that don't have a place to stay, that just need a place to stay, providing short-term or long-term in it. Even what's gonna happen with the solar fields, the gas lines, that's all coming. So that is gonna be additional need, which, 5 years from now, I'll be standing here going, hey, we wanna do 40 on the back 9.
Well, we'll talk about Parker South at that point.
There we go, the back 9.
All right, that's a good point.
With your permission, I'd like to be able to come back in a couple of weeks with I'll get some nice artist sort of renderings of a kind of a mix of minis and mobiles and what the sales piece would look like.
That'd be awesome.
And, gives a little bit of meat to grab onto to see what this looks like.
All right, that sounds good, and if you could get that to Nora and she could get it to us, we could put you on the agenda as a discussion item, just like we did tonight. That would be great.
And in
Thank
the
you,
mean-
guys.
In the meantime,
And the action on ours, this is not gonna be a drag feat. This is ready to
We're
rock
going
and
to
roll.
get started.
good. Christine and I can work on the
Okay.
deed restrictions.
Yeah.
And
Next agenda.
Okay,
Have
thank you
all
for your
of
time,
that.
everybody.
So Christina, just for clarification, we have to go through and finish this meeting and then we could go back to the work session? Or can we do the work session right now?
I'm pretty sure that you were all scheduled just for one meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Our regular meeting immediately following the
We
work
didn't
session,
get
so
to
it's just
finish
one-
Yeah.
our work session.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can just, yeah,
Okay.
it's as one meeting, so you can go back to the work session piece if you want
Okay,
right now. You don't have to
guys-
adjourn, yeah.
Bree, you're a trooper. You are by no means obligated to stay at these meetings after you give the invocation.
Yeah,
Hope we
You're
didn't
certainly welcome
scare
to.
you.
Don't ever worry about getting up and going, because I know it's a long meeting, and I would say the same to all of you. The most boring person at the town is gonna come up and give a presentation right now, so you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go. Talk to you guys soon.
Chief, no disrespect, but you said you're gonna be more.
I just don't want anyone to feel embarrassed or on the
Be
spot.
pretty
if
quick,
they
I
wanna
would
get up.
think.
So, Mike, if you wanna, give your presentation
Billy,
on
if
the
you wanna
budget.
get up and go. You're not gonna miss it. The perfect moment. They're getting laptops and radios and a gun safe.
Give me just a minute.
Demos of all of this equipment.
I need to use the restroom.
Yeah.
What's a suppressor do?
Makes it whispers.
We gotta have you do a demo.
It's a horrible smell too.
Like oil in them or something?
I don't know what it is. It's inside there. It's just that the gas inside is just. After about 10 rounds through it, it's just. Yeah.
All right. Oh, we're gonna wait for Jerry, never mind.
Because you go in there and put a cap on it. Whoa, wait a minute, no, I don't want to do that. Because it happened in Havasu.
My thing about that whole thing would be don't squash an opportunity over an empty lot of dirt. You know, that's why I'm trying to be as open about it as possible.
But also manage it properly though.
Right.
Yeah,
Let
and I
him blow his
just,
millions. you know, right.
Yeah, because I just hate
feel like
that they
there's so
throw
many
around that buzzword affordable housing and then overnight they turn
like
it into
workforce.
open market. Yeah.
I hear
Well,
affordable
even with
housing, and my mind
workforce
goes
housing.
Section 8 or something, you know, and then,
No, there's nothing wrong with a lot of
just
those
like
Section 8 homes. I
No,
mean,
I
if
know,
they're
but
managed with an
it's-
HOA, they're really good.
But when you think of affordable housing, you think of like our community members that need the homes being able to go live in there.
aren't gonna be that.
No, like I wouldn't go live in one of those
Wouldn't go
homes
live in a
and I
400
couldn't
square
afford
foot
it.
thing, right.
Right, right. So like, no.
The doctors, the nurses,
And then my question comes, do they want to buy here?
for that much, it's cheaper than whatever else they're doing.
Yeah.
Because what's a payment gonna be if they're not paying 100 grand cash
He's
or
doing that
something?
160, it's
Gonna
gonna
be a nothing
be,
payment.
it's gonna be 1,200.
All right, let's
Yeah,
get out of this discussion.
yeah.
What?
Mike Bailey, go ahead.
You're not gonna be boring, though.
Now that we're upset, Mike
Hey,
Bailey.
listen, there's no refunds tonight, okay? You get paid
We're
for it.
talking about
Riled
guns
up,
and stuff.
Chief.
Yeah, okay.
You're welcome.
Money he's gonna bring in, and it's gonna go into here. So it's like it's just a wash. Where do I start? As you can see, did you guys get this?
Yes.
Great part.
Yes, yours is in gray.
Okay. Okay. There is an issue I forgot to update before I sent to you on the, I'll get down to it here in a minute, though. Anyway, capital projects. In the grand scheme of things, in the last couple of years, it's kind of, I think, a light year for capital projects. These are the things we need. You can see the top is laptops. We have 2 vehicles currently that are using tablets, and they're pushing 6 years old now. So we have to update those, and we have, well, actually, and then 2 of the other Explorers for
Is
officers.
this on the laptop thing?
Say again?
Are we talking about the laptops?
Yeah.
The first one here.
Yeah, $5,500 for a laptop.
So
You're talking about not something
this-
mounted in a vehicle, just something
This
for
is
the
a
office.
heavy
This
duty
is the whole
police
thing. This
officer
is the laptop with the, well, and the dock system, yeah. So, and these are the cheaper versions. We had the Panasonic Toughbooks, and you see that a lot in the military and law enforcement.
No bueno.
That computer alone is $8,000.
Best either.
So these are actually a lot cheaper and a lot better, or I
These are
think
ones
better.
that'll plug in the car and then they can take them out.
They're the MDCs, yes. They're the tablet, they're the ones that have the flip screen, so they mount like a tablet, but they take them out and they can use them training wherever they're at as a laptop. So this is with the active dock system that we have to have with this laptop. I did add, you'll see these 2 items here, did add 15% for inflation. That kind of bit us last time. We didn't add for inflation and we didn't plan for it. So I do want to add, I don't know if it'll go that high, but I'd rather be over-prepared and spend less. You can see the next one down is radios. I am short 2 radios, so we have to have 2 radios for that, and these are expensive. Like I said, you can see the $5,600 per radio, and that includes the installation. Just some.
In-vehicle radios?
Correct, yes. Yeah, the in-vehicles are about $5,000. The ones right here are $4,000, so.
So that's what they're using now? The
The-
hip ones?
Yes, they're using these right here currently.
Yeah.
So. Then I have a few things here for our virtual room. We have at the high school that we partner with APS and the school. We have a simulator that Billy uses with his classes. We also use it for training, for virtual simulation, that we can plug in scenery around town. We can go shoot an intersection and put that in there, and we can use it for shoot, don't shoot scenarios, judgment shoots, that kind of stuff. So it's actually pretty well. We are looking for rifles and handguns. We have to add a few to our inventory. We also don't have any spare rifles, so if we do, God forbid, have an officer involved shooting with a rifle, that becomes evidence. We no longer have one, the officer is out with a rifle, so.
No, and they don't have one for me, so.
Yeah, we'll let you use this one if you want. You look down canine supplies. I talked to Randy about this a few weeks ago. We were recently approached by ALICA. It's Arizona Law Enforcement Canine Association. And they have $20,000 that they want to give us to start a canine program. This includes the dog training, supplies, whatever. The dog is roughly $12,000. The Canine Academy, I think, is 8 weeks long, and we're looking at possibly starting this up in January, just with the timing of everything. It'll be January, but we still have to.
Do you have an officer that wants to do it?
We do. We sent out an email. We had one officer submit his interest in this. So far, it's Brock is the one that's interested in this program. We don't have one. We haven't had one in quite a while.
I think Crit is the only one that has a dog. I don't know the experience of the dog. I've never used, I've never seen it. So
Sheriff's Department doesn't have one anymore?
they're
do
trying to get one. I don't think they do. I don't think they have a
do
dog
not.
right now.
Their canine officer ended up in Havasu.
Well,
think there's a lot
all of the
behind
canine
that.
officers, but we have.
Well, will our canine officer end up in Havasu?
No, we're gonna
Well,
bring
I
Red
don't know.
Willows back, actually.
We have a deed restriction on that guy.
Yeah, make them sign a contract. I do anticipate if we do, when we do get this, that we will be called a lot, I think, all over the county. So that's something we have to look at in the future with the other agencies. If we are utilized, we'll have to see how that goes.
So if that does happen, do we charge them or is that just free gratis?
Contract work.
So in the past, when everybody played well in the sandbox together, if there was any overtime related to drug-related calls, task force or HIDA would pay for that. I can't say that that's the case because some of you here were on council when that whole thing went on.
Yep.
So that's something that have to be discussed at a future date, if and when this does come to fruition, with the sheriff's office, with HIDA. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I'm going to say no, that we'll eat that cost. Hey, it's out of the goodness of our hearts. We're one ultimate community. It's for the good of the greater good. You guys saw Facebook, I think yesterday, sheriff's office made a traffic stop just north of Parker here. They said, I think they found like 83 pounds of meth, 500 something fentanyl pills. So it's coming through town.
Recreational use.
Yeah, yeah. Border Patrol is telling us when we have our monthly WILIA meetings, they're stopping on the California side. They're getting hundreds of pounds and thousands of pills, and it's coming through our area. So I think that when you do our whatever tools available, and if this is $20,000 they're giving us to start this program, why not?
Hey, I have a question about the stopping. Used to be when they stopped and they found money, it went into a RICO fund here.
You're talking about asset forfeiture.
Yeah,
So-
that's gone now.
Well, yes and no. It's a lot more difficult, and that's a whole other 2-hour-long meeting topic with that. It's you have to tie a drug nexus to that money. Before in the past, if it was $10,000, $15,000, no, okay, that's not my bag. I don't know what that is. That could be seized. I had issues with some of the things, like you have to show that. I think agencies across the country were like, maybe taking a little advantage of it, but they definitely made it more difficult to tie that to there. I know there's a lot of opposition across the state, across everywhere, really. Well, it's a state thing now, but to really make it easier for the asset forfeiture stuff. So yes, it's not as readily available as it used to be.
Question, on your overtime, you have $5,000 for the increase. Will that mainly be for your canine officer who may be out doing a lot of overtime?
So this increase would encompass K-9
Okay.
and SRT. We also had the shooting here in town a couple weeks ago where I spent over $7,000 in overtime on 5 officers who, luckily we found the guy, but they spent a little over a week doing this. And I think Megan saw the timesheets, and I don't know, we had 15-hour days for officers, so this would be an increase with those. Yeah.
Okay.
Going down, you can see the line item increases. These are just capital projects, so one and done. The line item increases, the salary, this is with our step increases that we have. Not everybody's topped out, but we are having a few more officers that are topped out, so that's kind of helping a little bit. You see the overtime, SRT, we did.
And the salary increase is only gonna be 21,000?
That's just the salary, it does not include EREs. That is just with the salary, the step raises, because every officer up to 10 years gets a 4% increase.
What's the ERE rate, like 37% roughly? I know at the college it's 37, but.
I can tell you for an officer to step 7, their salary is $64,000. I think with max benefits, it comes out to $125,000. So that's
Like
everything,
50%.
yeah. Yeah.
That's literally everything though, not just like
Retirement.
medical, that
That's-
kind
yeah.
of stuff. That's unemployment, that's our part
all
of the
the
taxes.
fringe.
It's everything that the town pays towards that employee. Workers' comp, everything.
Yeah.
Still seems incredibly high. I've never heard of 50% ERE rate before, but I don't have a lot of experience.
Well, and with officers, too, their retirement's 30%.
I was gonna say.
So
And this is
Because
also,
of
Where the
officers,
normal, yours is
Where
12.
ours is 12%.
Mine's 12.
Right,
Theirs is
30.
30.
this is with Max, this is a family, spouse, kids on the insurance. So this is worst case scenario. You know, it
Gotta
is
budget
less
for
with,
it.
say again?
You got a budget for it in case
Yeah.
you hire an officer that's married and has children. Can't rule it.
Going down the special response, I think we're calling it SAU, I think now, or SIU. We're kind of morphing that. We're no longer with the county. The MOU was not being followed. I've reached out to them numerous times and I got nothing. So talking with them as well, they wanted to put more restrictions on this as to what we could or couldn't do, who they had wanted to say and who was on the team. So we just say, you know what, it's best if we have our own. And honestly, we went back and the calls that we had in the last, I think, 2-ish years we were on it. I think of the roughly 8 or 10 calls we had, 2 were in town. So they were benefiting more with us covering the overtime and the call outs than the town residents were. So we have the manpower, we have the experience, we have the training, we have our own. So we are also having this as a call out team, but also kind of doing like a street crimes as well. So we have guys that come out and do, if we have an area that's designated as a target zone, like we're having a lot of crime, they'll come out and extra enforcement in that area. So it won't be like the Scorpion unit in Memphis, but we will be.
well, I would hope not.
So we'll have.
Maybe the Gila monster.
Yeah, there you go. Moving to AC training supplies, you can see we currently budget $5,000. I increased this to $20,000. This includes ammunition. Ammunition goes up, and it comes down, it goes up. We are, what I want us to do is we do 4 shoots a year in addition to our qualification. Post had just changed the qualification course this year, so it's a little bit different. But a lot of agencies are using, including us in the past, we were using our annual qualification as our annual training. So now we do quarterly, and we also include night shoots and scenario-based shooting. So we shoot roughly, a qualification course, we'll go through 2,000 to 3,000 rounds on just a qualification. If we do the quarterly training, we're looking probably about 5,000 to 6,000 rounds that we go through. So if we do that 4 times a year, times that, so that's, you know.
And I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Again, travel, we are including staff as well, and this is everything, the hotels, prices and whatnot's going up. Staff training, this is also for myself, Johnny, and the sergeants to go. We're doing a lot of internet-based training as well. In fact, I have the 2 sergeants that are doing a year-long liability and first-line supervisor training through a nationwide legal team that I got the information from at the IACP conference in San Diego this year. I thought it was great. And I signed those 2 up for it and said, here you go, take it. It's once, I think it's 8 hours a month for the entire year.
There's a lot more internet learning, right?
We're trying to get more, trying to use our money wisely, right? So if we can do the web-based stuff, we can, but I also think that you get more out of the training if you're in person, or we're bringing people in. So part of our, we partner with Courtside. So Edwards and Amato, they come in once a year, they give 16 hours of law and legal updates, use of force, and then whatever else we can fill the time with. That's a new trend. I think this year we did, the tribal law. They kind of touched on that briefly a little bit. So we're getting decent feedback from it. And again, we're partnering with Courtside, so it's a little bit cheaper for us and Courtside. Uniform clothing is going up. Unfortunately, these, just the shirt and pants alone is, $150 that I'm wearing right now. So boots are $300. So yeah, it's there. Safety wear, actually, that's where I messed up. It should have been $8,000 proposed instead of the $10,000.
a vest and an outer carrier, you're looking at close to $2,000 per person. And we roughly replace 2 vests a year. So we do get a grant to the government, the Bureau of Justice does, but it won't cover the outer carrier. And actually cap it, I think, at $800, I think is what it's capped at usually. I don't know why I'm looking at you, because I guess it all goes to you, the finances here. So if we're spending roughly $2,000, we get, I think, $800-ish back on that. And these do expire every 5 years. I mean, they won't fall apart in 5 years, but the manufacturer warranty is 5 years. So if there's a failure in the 6th year and they're wearing the vest, and they can come back and say, well, it's out of our warranty, so you're on your own. Other professional services, you can see that's already expensive, but it's a $10,000 increase. Again, this is our Axon, our radio service that we pay that goes up every year. It's just a lot of things. What else we pay on? Taser, we do that. Spillman, we pay on, and it's just, unfortunately, these are costs that I don't have control over the increase. It seems like Motorola, for Yuma radio system, I think it was $10,000, $11,000, and it keeps going up. And unfortunately, we have to have it. We have to pay it. Otherwise, we don't have a radio system. And then again, radio equipment repairs, we've always budgeted $3,000. That, if I have to replace a radio, that will not cover the cost of this one. And this is $4,000, $4,500, and then $5,000 for the car. So, bottom. And then coming to you guys. Do you have any questions so far on that? I know it's a lot, and I'm sorry.
All seems reasonable to me.
Well, I will say this, and I'm no mathematician, but when I add all this stuff up, I come up with 397,000 increase over last year. Does that sound reasonable?
On everything here?
Assuming everything on this, everything on here was.
It's probably worst case, if we're doing worst case, probably. Everything here.
And looking at last year's budget of 1,089,000, adding 400,000 to that is like a 45% increase in your budget. I would just encourage you, and I know we haven't talked about these positions yet, but I don't know. I would encourage you to pare this down a little bit, maybe, only because, you know, you guys get a new police department, right?
Yeah.
You get a new building. I know we've put a lot of money into that. I think at what point do people look and go, you know, it's a 1 square mile. I mean, how much do we need for our police department? And I'm not opposed to any of this if the funding's there.
Just a 45% increase is a chunk.
It looks like, yeah, it looks like a lot. And like, but you have the new officer on here. Do we have a position open? We need a new officer?
So last year we came asking for 2 officers. It was going to be, but then when Ed was here, we had the HR position and then he wanted the secretary. So as a compromise, he wanted to slash that other officer position. This is part of the plan of having the 2 officers per shift. I can tell you right now, our call volume is going up every year. This last year, we're almost 9,000 calls for service. Yes, we're 1 square mile. We have, I don't know, 3,500 residents that live here, but annually we have, I think we're up to 8 or 9 million vehicles that travel through here, just traveling through a day, or I'm sorry, a year. So we don't just service the population in Parker, we service everybody that comes to Parker. And then we do get called a lot to help other agencies. Now, that's not a cost that we can recoup, but
Gotcha.
is a strain that's taking from us. So if I have an officer working nights by himself and he's called upriver, which happens quite a bit, or he's called California side, or he's called down the valley, that's town's wide open.
How many at night
Say again?
have on patrol?
Right now, I have one guy per shift. There is overlap
From what
between.
time? Oh, okay.
So our shifts are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then that's day shift, and night shift is 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Swings comes in 12 to 12 usually. We can adjust that if call volume, so far 12 to 12 seems to work out best. But after midnight, there's nobody else.
But right now, that officer's pretty much out on his own.
on his own. So if he's either helping the county out upriver, which again happens quite a bit, or he gets a DUI arrest, or he's on an investigation, or he gets called to Parker South for a vehicle rollover, which happens. That's 3 or 4 hours that there's nobody in town.
Yeah, and this is a discussion, and obviously at some point Nora's gonna come with the budget and
We will.
we still don't know, we have a better idea where we're at, but we still haven't got the audit stuff we were expecting, 8 months ago. And I understand the reasoning, we don't have all the stuff we need, but my point is if we're gonna, because I know we're looking at a finance director position and some different things, so, if we're gonna increase our budget by, 600,000 over last year, I just wanna make sure the funds are there for that.
Right, and we'll know more, like I said, on the 11th,
Right.
as to what
Okay.
the state's gonna do and what, that's gonna really determine what our budget is gonna look like and our revenues are gonna look like.
And I'm not opposed to any of this,
No, and I understand.
I
it's
just
the law.
thinking of the optics of the community and, if somebody really looked at it and went, geez, 45% increase, why, But it's because of this. I mean,
Where are we
there's,
seeing the 45%?
well, if we go from,
He did his math.
yeah, 100 and,
His math.
what was it? 1,089,000 last year to 1.5 million this year. That's about a 45% increase, 45%, right? The budget last year was 1.89 million,
Yeah.
1,089,000. And we're adding, almost 400,000 to that if all this stuff was approved. Then again, your budget will be around 1.5 million, maybe even a little bit more.
1.169 I'm seeing.
That's
1.168 is before the bottom things, the new positions, the salary increases, which I absolutely think we need.
Gotcha.
And I'm not opposed to hiring these people. I know, when does the accreditation manager grant or whatever?
That grant runs out in July. It ends
Right.
in July. So with that, that's what I talked about earlier with the accreditation management and also the victims advocacy.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I just want to make sure we got the money.
And I can tell you that with the accreditation, there are things we have to do every year, every 2 years for this to maintain, and then every 5 years we have to reapply.
Yeah, I
for the accredit-
don't dispute that at all. I think when you did the position, it was a great idea. And by all accounts, it's working well for you guys. And if you lose it, it's gonna hurt, so.
Yeah, and I can tell you,
Get it?
when you go to League of Cities, Elite has a person that goes and talks, Kevin Rea. I don't know if you guys ever sat in his class. The cities and towns are not seeing a decrease in lawsuits with agencies that are accredited. They're seeing a decrease in the amount of money paid out because it's showing that the agencies, the lawyers can show, and Christina can probably back me up here, the attorneys can show that, no, the agency it doesn't have a 20-year-old use of force policy, or they're not racially profiling because you have to do A, B, and C, so it's minimizing the amount of payouts. So they're saving money that way. Now, knock on wood, it's been some number of years since we've had to do that, but there's always one incident.
All right. Yeah, and we're early stages, right? We're just discussing,
Correct. We are in very early stages at
which
this
is good,
point.
by the way. I'm thinking back to last year, it was kind of a cluster, but, so, that's good.
Yeah, we're hoping.
All right. Anything else you want to add? You good?
That's all I have on this.
Boring.
Yeah, sorry I called you boring. Actually, wasn't boring at all.
You were good, Mike.
All right, so Phoenix, are you gonna give a little presentation here?
Dave, you're here. The library really doesn't have a whole lot. No.
budget's gonna decrease because we won't be
Yes.
spending that.
Great.
That's the 120?
Yes.
If it's decreasing, we don't want to hear it.
Yeah, the rest of these departments, there's not a lot going on in them, and that's the reason that I didn't ask the department heads to actually be here tonight with these. Like she said, the libraries is gonna decrease quite a bit. Community center, just the kind of the highlights on that. They're asking for some new furniture, not a lot there. And they would like a clothing allowance.
Who's that?
The community center, so for T-shirts and those kinds of things, so they all sort of look
Like a uniform?
uniform-ish. The only other major thing that she would like is to have that, her dishwasher that is part-time become full-time, so that they can actually do some training, and that person, because I'm not gonna say he or she, but that person could go and do some work in the kitchen.
I was gonna
prep
say,
work,
you don't really need a full-time dishwasher, but you can use them to do other
to
things.
do other things when.
So does this increase include benefits and everything?
Yes.
Wow.
It's rough. I didn't like to the penny
Sure.
on that, but yes. We already pay some EREs for that position because she, sorry, I said she.
It's okay.
That position
Pay them.
isn't a 19-hour and below part-time.
okay.
So we do pay retirement and that kind of stuff on that
Okay.
position already.
That makes
It would
sense.
just be offering them benefits is
Sure.
what would be the big change on that.
And then if you go on over to the magistrate court, they're, for whatever reason, didn't have the line items for the office supplies, the travel, members and dues, conference or training, so she'd like to add, or judge would like to add a little bit for those things, and then the metal detector and hand wand, which we are kind of rolling over from last year. We had put that in. IT has always, we broke that out this year. It's always been kind of in everybody's budget. And Darren goes in and buys 2 laptops and pulls it out of community development's budget. And then community development goes in and is wanting cameras or whatever. And so it's just better that, and then the money's not there because Darren's already spent it. So we decided to kind of break that out. It makes much more sense for all of IT. It can still be coded to those different departments, but he has control over that, where that money's coming from and going to.
This doesn't include his salary though, correct?
No, it does not.
That's a healthy
This is
annual
just
IT budget.
pulling out what is already in
Sure.
police department, community development, all the other departments and
Yeah, I
putting
know
it
we've got
into
to, we
one.
got to stay on the cutting edge of this tech stuff. Feel like we got behind there for a while.
We kind of
And
did.
it costs more money to try and catch up. So maintenance of effort for IT is a good idea.
And then the only other thing that we kind of wanted to run past you guys is the COLAs, the benefits, and the merits. We're not looking at a huge COLA or merit this year. 3% on the COLA, and then up to a 3% on a merit.
Who determines the merit? Is it the department head?
The department heads,
Like Steve would determine for his guys, Mike?
correct, when he does their evaluation once a year.
Yeah.
The police department does not get a
Yeah.
merit, they're on steps.
Yeah.
But the other departments, it would be the department heads and supervisors collectively.
Merits
I don't like
scared me a little bit around here a few years ago, when I'm sure they weren't done fairly. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind, the equitable nature of a merit, because it can be very subjective. Like,
It can be.
that guy served me some crappy coffee last
Yep.
month, and I don't think you know what I'm saying?
Or I don't like them anymore.
Should we go to a step
I'm just more,
system?
I'm more in favor of just if you work in here and you haven't been fired, you all get the same percentage of a raise. But I'm not against the merit system. I just want to make sure we're being judicious.
I was gonna say, that's gonna keep all my duds here.
Yes, Steve, yeah.
No, I take merits very seriously. So if I have staff that is not performing up to what is required, then they get a merit based off their performance. It's all performance based. So across the board merit doesn't work for me. So it might come to me from Scott in that manner, and I'll have a discussion with him and talk about issues with that staff member and asking him, why does that staff member deserve the same amount as this staff member who is 110%? This one's putting 50% effort, they don't equal. And it's unfair to that person who puts the 110% effort each and every day to give that 50% person the same amount of merit increase.
I think,
So that's how I have to judge everything
Yeah.
with that, because I want my staff to perform at 110% each and every day, and all the members do. But that's not the way it
I
works.
think documentation.
Yes, documentation.
This is why you got this, this is why you didn't get this, yeah.
So you
And
have
that's-
some,
and that's how I base it. It's
you
based
have
off
some that don't get merit?
performance reviews.
You have some that don't get merit increases?
Not yet, but I've had some that have not gotten the full 3%.
But you give somebody one or two, maybe?
There have been employees that have not received a merit because their evaluation didn't support it.
And that's the
I've had
key.
recommendation to give a 3% and have knocked it down to a 1%. I haven't given a 0, but yes, I do that based off of their performance, purely their performance.
So Steve and I have had this conversation multiple times because obviously like the employees that have worked here a while just always expected to get the whole whatever percent you guys approved for that year. We've kind of redone the way that the evaluations and reviews are done, so that it's like a rating of 1 to 3, and that's how we've tried to kind of base the merit percentage that that employee gets. So if
It's all
your
transparent
score is a
to the
1,
employee?
you get a 1%. If you got a 3 on your review, you get 3%.
That's fair.
Good.
So this 99,000, is that a figure based on everybody getting 6?
Yes.
Okay, and that clearly that won't happen. I'm guessing some people are gonna get a
Correct.
4 or 5.
-2.
And I don't know what the COLA is this year. I know last year was like
3.4%.
8.9 or some outrageous amount, and we couldn't match that.
Right.
No, it's 3.4%.
3.4.
Yeah, there's been a few years where we didn't come up to the goal.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple where we went over it.
And this will be one of those years, obviously, if it's 3, what'd you say?
3.4.
3.4 is the COLA right now, so if we can give somebody 6, that's good, and they're performing well, I think that's a solid, yeah. We want to keep people here. I think the retention I'm seeing in the last few years has been pretty solid.
Yeah, and that's how I come across that. So based off of some recent hiring that my department I had to do, there are some outstanding performers, and I need to retain these individuals because of the lack of quality employees or just people in general to fill these positions. So we struggle with that. That ability to bring them up a step or have performance increases based over, a whole year or 2 years, keep these people here. And it's really important.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of,
I've followed the step system that we have with
Yeah.
our increases, but that's important to retain these good employees.
seemed like a lot of poaching was happening a few years ago, and haven't seen much lately.
With my time on council, when it first started, you had people taking a job in the town for the interim time until they got a good job.
Certification.
And that happened a lot. And it's completely turned around.
That was back when we paid people in bread, like loaves of bread.
No, it was olives.
Olives.
And
Sorry,
And we lost some good people
Yes.
directly because of that.
yeah.
we
All right.
also have to look at too, we're not poor Megan here earlier about had a heart attack when she was doing this. Trying to do all the COLAs and what it was gonna cost us and all the things, and the number was so low that she was sure she was doing something wrong. And it ended up being, well, we're not paying that absorbent amount to the town manager at this point, which is going to help with, as Randy said earlier, the new finance director, that will help pay for some of that. Sadly, we did lose our HR person this last week, but I think it's all gonna kind of wash itself out, and this 6%, it'll end up being less than that at the end of the day, but I think with
Well,
wages and
what we're paying
stuff,
her and the difference in what we're paying you, that should
Right.
take care of the finance director, right?
it will.
I plugged in, I pulled numbers out of nowhere, but big numbers. And our bottom line is going up by less than 100,000 for salaries and EREs. With,
Overall.
yeah,
Including the police department.
including.
Big picture.
Including everything for the police department except for the new officer.
Yeah.
So that would be in addition to. But that's us absorbing the accreditation manager position, all of the current officers, a finance director, HR. Yeah.
The full-time dishwasher.
Yes.
So
Full-time
we're gonna do
person over
HR
there.
training with some of the employees to have them take that position over, is that the plan? Okay, well, I think that's a
Yes.
pretty good amount of money.
Yeah, if the overall budget's only 100,000 more than last year,
Just the salary part of the budget.
Right.
well, it's not bad.
That's not bad at all when you're looking at a 3% COLA
Inflation
and a
and-
3%
Right.
merit, so.
All right. Moving on. Any council member liaison reports?
Yes, I remember to go to the Street and Traffic Committee
And then we didn't have a quorum.
agenda.
And nobody
I mean, they
else
didn't have
did.
a quorum.
We had an
All right.
agenda. Amy put it together.
All right.
I went to the.
We're
are you
still
done?
working on we're still working on trying to get everybody together on joint venture. We have a next step we have to agree, and we're having a hard time getting the people there.
I was at the chamber committee meeting there, and they just discussed a lot of what Melissa had mentioned, and then I shared with them our last items that we voted on, stuff, so that's pretty much it, but that's the biggest thing that they're worried about, is trying to find that location, so.
And maybe at the next Park and Recs meeting on the 9th, Erica, could you bring that up? Just throw it out about the chamber idea and kind of get a feel, maybe?
We don't throw out ideas. I gotta put it on an agenda, so.
Oh,
if you're wanting
throw
us
it
to
on an
dis-
agenda.
Okay, if you're wanting us to discuss that.
Discussion
no.
only, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
You gotta discuss it with that look, though.
Yes.
You gotta look just like that when you.
They're like, Erica is not for that at all.
All right. So the rest of this stuff you guys can read on here, but our next meeting is April 16th, Tuesday at 6 PM. And I will happily adjourn this meeting.
Okay. Nora, I had a